गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन. गुड इवनिंग, गुड आफ्टरनून, हमेशा कंफ्यूज रहता हूँ जो भी है. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1858 हो गया. ठीक है. So the next point that we have is EIC administration. That is, first the Britishers, they are establishing their rule in India. After that they will start ruling India. First they will conquer India, then they will start ruling India. Right? So here the first point that comes into operation is, broadly, what the East India Company is doing is that, for example, if we take the help of the handout, एक तो समरी आपको एक रफली समझा देते हैं, उसके बाद विल टेक द हेल्प ऑफ द हैंडआउट. हैंडआउट डाउनलोड किया आपने? हैंडआउट पसंद नहीं? हैंडआउट से पढ़ना नहीं पढ़ना. सी, when we talk about EIC administration, it has 2-3 points. इसका बैकग्राउंड ब्लैक ठीक है या फिर इसका ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स को लाइट अच्छा लगता है बैकग्राउंड? क्योंकि दूसरे बैच को कहते हैं कि रिफ्लेक्शन आती है. रिफ्लेक्शन तो आती है, ठीक है, उसको चेंज कर देते हैं. कुछ बच्चे बोलते हैं कि इट्स ईजियर ऑन द आईज, राइट? सो राइट, सो व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट EIC एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और द ब्रिटिश एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, so this administration has broadly 3 parts. One is the judicial administration. Second aspect is your police. And third aspect is your civil services. Right. So basically what happens is that if we begin with judicial. So when you begin with judicial, the background of this particular thing is that here we begin with Bengal, because Bengal is the first area where the Britishers, they are establishing their rule. So with respect to Bengal, we know that in the case of Bengal, from 1765 till 1772, there was system of dual government. However, when there was a system of dual government, the actual government was of the Indians only. Indians only in the sense that the Indian officials, they continued. जैसे मोहम्मद रेजा खान, he was the deputy Nawab or Naim Nazim of Bengal. So he acted as a, so during this time period what happened, that during this time period, your Mohammad Reza Khan, he was the deputy Nawab. So this dual government is functioning is that A, he headed both the Diwani as well as he headed the Nizamat. That means here he is acting as a Diwan. That is, he is Diwan of East India Company. He is Diwan of East India Company. And here he is acting on, headed it on behalf of Nawab. So this is what this system, it is continuing from 1765 to 1772. Although there is dual government, that means Diwani it is under the East India Company, Nizamat it is under the Nawab, but the Britishers, they do not want to. What is the reason for this? The reason was that the Britishers, they did not want to tinker too much. Reason was that the East India Company or the Britishers were cautious. They did not want to change the administration much. Therefore, Indian officials they continued to be decision makers on the ground, or the administration it continued to be Indian, right? So they did not want to change much, right? Now from 1765 to 1772 there is this dual government. However, now what is happening is that now in all the things, judicial, civil, etc., changes will take place, because in 1770 Great Bengal famine took place. In 1770 Great Bengal famine took place, and now the East India Company, they started blaming the Indians. That is, it is the poor administration by the Indians because of which this famine has taken place. Although the reality was that the Britishers, they were looting Bengal, and therefore the need for better revenue, the need for better law and order prompted the Britishers to end the system of dual government. And in 1772 the Britishers, they ended the dual government, and now the British officials, they will become head of administration. Senior Indian officials, they will be removed. Right? So इतना आप लिख लीजिए, उसके बाद आगे चलते हैं. So this is like the summary, बाकी details आपको handout में है. So please write this down. Let it be dark only. Dark is fine. Black is the best. Guys, join Howdy Homies in Telegram. कर रहे हैं, मानसी डाक कर रहे हैं, रुक जाओ. अब इसको तो वो कर लेते हैं. इसका कलर पता नहीं कैसे चेंज होगा. चलो अभी आप लिखो, आगे डार्क कर देंगे. अभी डन. जल्दी लिखो भाई, जल्दी. जब मैं 7 साल लिख रहा था तब भी लिख लिया कर दे, थोड़ा बहुत तो, हल्का बहुत, टाइनी. So can you please explain Charter Act of 1853 again? See, when you discuss that in the Charter Act of 1853, some simple things they are taking place. First of all, the patronage of the company, it is being ended. That means they will not be able to choose anyone as EIC official. The selection would have to take place through an exam. So therefore, once an exam is there, so the company, it is losing the power to appoint anyone of their choice as a EIC official. Only those who are passing the exam, they will be able to join it. And in fact, even the Indians, they can join it if they are able to pass the exam. Even in the Indians, they can become covenanted civil servant if they are able to pass the exam. So that is the highlight, or that is the main thing. The second point of the Charter Act of 1853 is that your charter, it is not renewed for a period of 20 years, which was a practice. That means now there is sword hanging on the neck of the East India Company कि कभी भी Parliament चाहेगा तो Parliament can end the charter. Right. So these are the two broad points of the Charter Act of 1853. Already by 1813 they have lost commerce in India, except for the tea trade. In 1833 they lose the commercial function, so they are totally having a political function, and now they lose the patronage as well. Right now they lose the patronage as well. So these are the key highlights of your 1853 charter. There is nothing much. In a way, we are seeing that the British EIC rule, it is on the verge of collapse. EIC rule, it is on the verge of collapse because they are losing all of these things. So that is a key feature of charter of 1853. उसके अलावा क्या key feature था बताओ? दिखाओ अपने notes खोलो. और क्या point लिखा था हमने charter 1853 में? 6 more legal members they were added. Right? So therefore next highlight comes that now you are having 7 members who will look into the law making process. So therefore we have 7 law making members, that is you have some kind of a mini parliament within the council, and the rest of the members they will be ministers. So therefore this kind of system is coming. So introduction of separation of power takes place in the Charter Act of 1853. So therefore this is what is there. So, but political affairs were always the board of control. The political affairs, they are always with the board of control, but they are also with the court of directors. They are also with the court of directors because the court of directors is having now a boss in the form of board of control. So COD and BOC, both of them, they are going to take a look at the political affairs. But the top boss is board of control. Top boss is board of control. Below them, court of directors, and below them, Governor General of Bengal, and then Governor of Bombay and Governor of Madras. How is that EIC is left with political powers? वही तो, तभी तो हमने इतना समय लिया था बताने के लिए that what is the meaning of double government and what is the meaning of dual control. Because once in 1813 they do not have any trade function in India. ऐसे सब करना चाहिए ना, क्या तुम्हारी कोई लाइफ वाइफ है नहीं, तुम आजकल की जो जनरेशन है ना वो मतलब पूरे मजे नहीं लेती. हमारे यहाँ क्लास चली जाए अंधेरे में, किसी को क्या पता चल रहा है, कर दो हो हल्ला, नारा वारा लगा दो, एक आधा ढूंढता रहेगा विजन आईएएस कौन था, पता ही नहीं चलेगा. है आप लोग बड़े सभ्य हो गए आजकल के बच्चे. इसको तब से कह रहा हूँ, इसको इन्वर्टर पे लगा दो. इन्वर्टर मतलब उसमें लगा दो ना, यहाँ पे कंप्यूटर रखा होता तो वो ले गए. अब ये ऑन होगा, उसमें और टाइम जाएगा. जब हम लाइव हो जाए तो आप बता देना, है ना. और वो जो मेहनत थी वो तो चली गई. हाँ जी, अब देखो डिपेंड करता है. इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर एज अ मतलब प्रॉपर, वो तो 1853 में ही हो रहा है क्योंकि किताब कहती है. बट ग्रेन एक छोटा सा एलिमेंट, मतलब इम्प्रॉपर, जस्ट अ ग्रेन, ठीक है, दैट इज 1833. ठीक है, तो दैट इज देयर. अभी लाइव वहां पे सिग्नल नहीं आ रहा मुझे, आप देख लीजिए उसको. राइट, सो इसे कहते हैं इंडियंस, दे आर वेरी गुड लर्नर्स. इनोवेशन चाहे कोई और करे, we are very good at adapting innovation. और दोबारा वो ऑफलाइन हो गए होंगे ना. देखो ऐसे गुंडाई और मिसचीफ में फर्क होता है. अब तुम्हारे गुंडाई पे, और क्लास में, मेरी क्लास में सिर्फ एक ही गुंडा होता है, मैं. ठीक है, अब बस कंडक्टर की नौकरी थोड़ी चाहिए, एक बार बजा ली, 2 बार बजा ली, सीटी बजा जा रहे हो। बता दो भाई कब ऑनलाइन होंगे। और अभी दोबारा चलेगी ना लाइट, मैं इसको तोड़ दूंगा। पोर्टफोलियो सिस्टम मतलब मिनिस्टर आ गए, मिनिस्ट्री बन गई और मिनिस्टर आ गए। पहले मिनिस्ट्री नहीं होती थी सेपरेट, अब सेपरेट मिनिस्ट्री होगी, सेपरेट डिपार्टमेंट हो गए, उनके लिए सेपरेट मिनिस्टर आ गया, और जो मिनिस्टर कह देगा वही होगा। अब अनटिल को कैबिनेट लेवल का डिसीजन करना है हमें। जो आज का सिस्टम है वो आ गया, वो है पोर्टफोलियो सिस्टम, है ना। इस तरह के कौन बजा सीटी? एक तो बड़ी सही बजा रहा था, वो तो बिल्कुल एक्सपर्ट लग रहा था। सो दैट इज व्हाट इज देयर। और क्या है? और पूछो, सवाल पूछा है इतनी देर, कुछ तो पूछो। हाँ जी, वेयर वी आइडेंटिफाई डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस। लास्ट 10-15 मिनट्स उसमें एक्चुअली क्या है ना, ऑलरेडी हिस्ट्री का सिलेबस बहुत बड़ा है, ठीक है, और ऑलरेडी मुझे थोड़ी बहुत गालियाँ पड़ती हैं। गालियाँ इसलिए पड़ती हैं कि भाई विजन वाले बोलते रहते हैं कि टाइमली सिलेबस कंप्लीट करो, तो वो चक्कर हो जाता है, तो वहाँ पे वो 15 मिनट वहाँ पे हर्ट करते हैं। तो इसलिए क्लास के बाद जैसे अगर आप कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछें तो मतलब वो मैं कर सकता हूँ। बाकी जैसे काफ़ी बार मैं क्वेश्चन यूपीएससी के लिखवाता हूँ, है ना, और उसके इन वे इनडायरेक्टली कहीं ना कहीं हम उसका आंसर कर रहे होते हैं, तो वो वाली चीज़ तो हम फोकस कर रहे हैं ताकि कहीं ना कहीं सटल वे में हमको डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन पता चल जाए, तो वाली चीज़ होती है। बाकी बाद में सेशंस होते हैं, जैसे हम लोग भी सेशंस लेते हैं कि पास्ट क्वेश्चंस सारे के सारे निकाल के कि उनकी डिमांड क्या है, इस तरीके से मतलब विजन IAS यूट्यूब वगैरह पे वीडियोस मिल जाती हैं, तो वो भी कर सकते हैं। भाई क्लास के बाद फिर बेटर है, या फिर ईमेल पे आप पूछ लो मुझसे सर इसकी डिमांड क्या है इस क्वेश्चन की, तो उस तरीके से हम देख सकते हैं। वो थोड़ा हर रोज़ 15 मिनट निकालना थोड़ा मुश्किल है, वो चीज़ है। और पूछो। लेजिस्लेचर में इंडियंस को इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट 1861 से अलाउ किया गया था एज नॉमिनेटेड मेंबर्स। नहीं, वो काउंसिल्स चेंज हुई ना, फ्रेश काउंसिल्स आ जाएंगी। व्हेन वी डिस्कस द इंडियन काउंसिल्स एक्ट 1861 तब आपको समझ में आएगा वो। तो उसमें कुछ इंडियंस को जो है नॉमिनेट किया जा सकता है, सम इंडियंस दे कैन बी नॉमिनेटेड। इलेक्शंस आएंगे 1892 में, इनडायरेक्ट इलेक्शंस आएंगे, और प्रॉपर इनडायरेक्ट इलेक्शंस आएंगे आपके इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट 1909 में। हाँ पूछो पूछो। देखो प्रेजेंट कंटेक्स्ट में गलत है, उस टाइम पे भी गलत है, बिल्कुल गलत है। क्योंकि उसका रीज़न क्या है? बिकॉज मतलब वो जस्टिफाई तो ये कह के करते हैं कि उनका बिकॉज मेथड टेरर था, मेथड टेरर था, गोल तो आज़ादी था बट मेथड टेरर था। टेरर मतलब टू क्रिएट टेरर इन दी हार्ट्स ऑफ द एनिमी बाय लेट्स से एग्जीक्यूटिंग सम ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल। So that is why they are being called terrorists, revolutionary terrorists, but they are justifying कि we are adding a word revolutionary also. So it's two words. So in their defense, in the defense of Bipin Chandra, they are using two words, revolutionary terrorists. From their perspective, terrorism, it defines the method, but the goal of that method, why they are deploying that method, is to cause a revolution, to conduct a revolution. So in that sense, they are using the word revolutionary terrorist. Right? Ideally, they should have used the word revolutionaries, even if they had studied what you call as Western history वगैरह में उस तरीके से revolutionaries ही, but because of method of terror. अब क्या है कि present context में terrorism has emerged, the way terrorism has emerged post World War II, this kind of terrorism was not there before World War II. So therefore now when students they read the word revolutionary terrorist, so therefore the word terrorist it has a much negative connotations now. So that's why it is there. So in our exam, we can always use the word revolutionaries. So instead of using the word revolutionary terrorist, we can use the word revolutionary. इस तरीके से। We are online, right? So next point you write down. Next point you write down. Next point you write down. EIC implemented their administration. EIC implemented their administration. EIC implemented their administration. First subpoint. First subpoint. First subpoint. Because they believed that British administration would be more efficient, because they believed that British administration would be more efficient, and therefore will lead to British administration will be more efficient and therefore will lead to more revenue. Therefore will lead to more revenue. British administration will be more efficient and therefore will lead to more revenue. Therefore will lead to more revenue collection. More revenue collection. Will lead to more revenue collection. More revenue collection, which was down since Bengal famine 1770. Which was down since Bengal famine 1770. Which was down since Bengal famine 1770. Second sub point. If British take charge of Indian administration, if British take charge of Indian administration, if British take charge of Indian administration, they would be able to fulfill, they would be able to fulfill white man's burden. They would be able to fulfill white man's burden. They would be able to fulfill white man's burden. By providing, they will be able to fulfill white man's burden by providing a fair administration, without nepotism, a fair administration without nepotism, and rule of law equally applicable, and rule of law equally applicable to all Indians. 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 Therefore ending any feudal privileges. Therefore ending any feudal privileges. FEUDAL, feudal privileges. Therefore ending any feudal privileges. So actually पहले क्या होता था? Show me the man, I'll show you the rule. So therefore if you are belonging to a very good family or you belonging to aristocratic family and you have conducted a crime, then the law will be interpreted in an easier manner or it will be a less harsh manner. Whereas if you are a commoner, then it will be harsh interpretation of the law. It will be harsh interpretation. So therefore, show me the man, I'll show you the rule. This kind of feudalism was there. Feudal privileges means where on the basis of birth or from which family you come, you are given a different treatment. You're not equal. Everyone is not equal in the society. On the basis of your birth, you are having certain extra privileges. So that is the meaning of this thing, right? So they felt that they will be able to fulfill white man's burden by providing a fair administration to everyone. Equality before law, they will be able to bring equality before law or rule of law with equality for all, right? And last reason, plus it will allow plus it will allow EIC to establish, plus it will allow EICs to establish its sovereignty, EIC to establish its sovereignty, EIC to establish its sovereignty, that is EIC to establish its sovereignty, that is establish firm control, in polity, establish firm control in polity of Bengal, establish firm control in polity of Bengal by eliminating Indians from senior administration, by eliminating Indians from senior administration, by eliminating Indians from senior administration. So obviously, as a common man, if you see that my DC is a Firangi now and not an Indian, therefore I will start feeling that my ruler is now British. So therefore, the sense of authority in the hearts and the minds of people, it will shift away from the Indians to the British. So therefore, plus if you are having senior, if you are having the Britishers at the senior official positions like district magistrate, district collector, so therefore you are the one, now you are having total control over power, है ना? So जिसका chief minister होगा, जिसका district magistrate होगा, वही लोग तो powerful होंगे ना? So therefore that is the thing which is there. So this forms a rationale. Right? So now next point you can write down. Next point you can write down. British judicial system. British judicial system. British judicial system, right? So basically here what is happening is a kind of a structure, it is coming into operation, right? So पहले structures थोड़ा सा समझ लेते हैं. अब सब कुछ इस वाली क्लास में dictate तो नहीं कर पाऊंगा मैं. So you would have to take print out. So अब आप लिख सकते हैं, लिखना पड़ेगा इसको, सारे को नहीं, take print out. Take print out of EIC administration. Because फिर time भी थोड़ा सा save करना होता है, इतना कुछ intelligent चीज़ है नहीं. Take print out of EIC administration. EIC administration, document number 13. Document number 13. So basically, this is what is there. So what happens in this document is, so in the judicial administration, new system of 1772 is coming. Right? New system of 1772. So what is this system? So basically, you can divide it into, this is a judicial system. In the domain of judiciary, some civilian disputes are there and some criminal disputes are there, right? Civilian disputes, they are decided by the civil courts, and the criminal disputes, they are decided by the criminal courts. So therefore, this is at the district level. At the district level, there was a Diwani Adalat, which was earlier also there, and there was a Nizamat Adalat or Faujdari Adalat. फौजदार पहले बोलते थे सुप्रिटेंडेंट ऑफ पुलिस को एक तरीके से, ठीक है. सो फौजदारी अदालत और निजामत अदालत, इट वाज द कोर्ट फॉर द क्रिमिनल मैटर्स, एंड दीवानी अदालत वाज द कोर्ट फॉर द सिविलियन मैटर्स. व्हाट कैन बी द सिविलियन मैटर्स? एग्जांपल, इश्यूज ऑफ मैरिज, इश्यूज ऑफ डिवोर्स, disputes related to property, either succession of property, sale purchase of property, disputes related to revenue, that is Diwani particular, that is some dispute is there between the government and the taxpayer. So these are the civilian disputes. Now in the civilian disputes, which law used to be applicable earlier? Earlier Hindu law was applicable to the Hindu families, because see, issue of marriage is there, inheritance is there, property is there, right? So Hindu law will be applicable to the Hindu families and Islamic law will be applicable to the Muslim families, because it is civilian life, and civilian life, it was governed in India. कोई uniform civil code नहीं था as such, It was governed by the respective religion of respective community. Now, Lord Warren Hastings, he is a Orientalist. That means rule India the Indian way, right? So therefore, he does not want to change much. He want to apply the Indian way, but power will be with the British officials. Rule India the Indian way, but who will be the ruler? British, right? So therefore, which law will be applied in the civil court at the district level, and otherwise also Hindu law and Muslim law, right? But who will be the head? The head here will be European district collector. So this is how they are removing the Indian officials from the senior position, by making European district collector, by making an EIC official, by telling EIC official that now, since they had Diwani, so once they would have got Diwani in 1765, these people, they will start calling themselves as collector of revenue. So therefore district collector, district level, district wise. And he is also now being made a judge, right? So in the morning he will hold court, in the afternoon he will go and collect land revenue, right? This, his function will be this. So headed by European district collector. However, assisted by Maulvis and Pandits. Because he is a Britisher, he does not know, properly he does not know the Hindu law, properly he does not know the Muslim law. Therefore, he will take help of, so therefore he will be the judge. On the left, there will be a Maulvi. On the right, there will be a Pandit. And whenever any case comes, he will take their assistance and then he will give justice. Right? So that is why assisted by. But who is the judge? Who is heading the court? European DC. Right? Let's say you are not happy with the judgment. So you go to appellate court. That means you file an appeal. So here, two-layer system was there. Two-layer system. Already there existed a high court और a supreme court कह सकते हैं, जिसको बोला जाता था सदर दीवानी अदालत. सदर दीवानी अदालत. सदर दीवानी अदालत means the final court in the civilian matters, in the Diwani matters. Right? However, now Indians, they are removed. Earlier, Muhammad Reza Khan was the head of the Sadar Diwani Adalat. Or Indian officials, we can in general say, they were the head of the Sadar Diwani Adalat. But now they are deciding that who will be the head of the Sadar Diwani Adalat? Governor General of Bengal and two of his council members. Governor General of Bengal and two of his council members, they will become like the Chief Justice of Bengal in the civilian matters. So, this is a two-layer system. So, you can think that this is a district court, this is a high court. Supreme Court does not exist. Well, this is a final court, whatever. Right? So, Diwani Adalat in the district, Sadar Diwani Adalat at Suba level, at province level, at state level. Okay? In the Nizamat or the Faujdari Adalat, that is in the criminal affair, at the district level there will be a Nizamat Adalat या फिर Faujdari Adalat, एक ही बात है. However, which law will apply here? Islamic law. Why? Rule India the Indian way. Before the British, in the criminal matters, Islamic law was applied irrespective of whether you are a Hindu or you are a Muslim, because if you have committed a murder or if you have committed a theft, it does not matter what religion you belong to, because the rulers, they were Islamic, so therefore they applied Islamic law. Right? Second point. Headed by a Qazi and a Mufti. Right? So ऐसे मैंने सोचा यार काजी और मुफ्ती फ़र्क क्या होता है, तो कुछ मुस्लिम फ्रेंड्स हैं उनसे पूछा क्या फ़र्क है, और रिसर्च वगैरह करी, थोड़ा बहुत पता चला ऐसे रफ आइडिया इज कि भाई काजी इज अ जज. काजी इंटरेस्टिंग थी, वो मुस्लिम्स को भी नहीं पता था कि एग्जैक्टली डिफरेंस क्या है, तो वो भी अलग अलग बता रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो काजी वॉज अ, मेरे को आप कोई मुस्लिम्स हैं क्लास में तो मेरे को बता देना अगर मैं गलत बता दूं, बट दिस इज द अंडरस्टैंडिंग. काजी इज अ जज and mufti is an opinion giver. For example, fatwas, they are issued by muftis. Okay? So mufti, it is an opinion, he is an opinion giver, he is like a scholar. So this kind of a system is there. Like in the courts you have amicus curiae nowadays. That means judge is there and a legal expert is there. The legal expert can tell the judge, sir, as per that particular judgment this happened, as per the law this is what is there, sir, in France this law is interpreted in this manner, etc., etc. Right? And the judge, he can make the final decision on the basis of opinion given by a mufti. Right? So Miyan Bibi Razi, kya karega Qazi? Qazi is like the decision maker. Opinion giver is kind of like mufti. That is my understanding on whatever I have studied. Right? So headed by a Qazi and a mufti. Books में तो simply लिखा हुआ है headed by a Qazi and a mufti. As simple as that. Right? But under supervision of European DC. So therefore, in the driving seat, European DC is not there. European DC is sitting at the back of the car, looking at the driver that what he is doing. The reason is, in the criminal jurisdiction, you basically take away freedom of life of people. When you are calling for arrest of any person, when you are imprisoning anyone, when you are giving death sentence to anyone, so therefore it becomes kind of like a sensitive matter. So therefore, I do not want, just in case if there is a wrong judgment, I do not want the people to think that now the Britishers, they are taking away the lives of the innocents also. So it's a sensitive matter. So because it's a sensitive matter, so therefore, headed by a Qazi and a Mufti, but under supervision of European DC. So European DC will at least try to ensure that favoritism is not there and corruption by the Muftis and the Qazis are not there. कि किसी से पैसा ले लिया और less punishment दे दिया, this kind of system should not be there. Right? So, in the criminal, judge is an Indian, but in the civil, judge is a British. In the criminal, supervisory powers are there with the European DC. If you are not happy, then you go to the High Court, that is called Sadar Nizamat Adalat. And in the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, the High Court judge will be Governor General of Bengal and again his 2 council members. If you remember 4 council members थे, so 2 में divide कर दिया काम. So therefore this kind of a system. Hastings, he headed the Sadar Nizamat Adalat till 1774, but the law and order situation did not improve. Why will the law and order situation be bad? Law and order situation will be bad because of the Great Bengal Famine of 1770. So when there is Great Bengal Famine of 1770, there is poverty, and when there is poverty, there will be more crime, right? So the Britishers, they thought that they will be able to improve law and order. The Britishers thought that they will be able to improve law and order if they are बैठ गई, ठीक बैठ गई वो. आप शांत रह सकते हैं, कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं. ठीक ठीक बैठ गई, ठीक, सही सलामत, ठीक है. मुझे देख लो यार. एंश्योर कर मैं ठीक बैठ गया, ठीक आ गए हैं जी, ठीक बैठ गया, ठीक बैठ गए. हाँ, अब टीचर पे फोकस करते हैं. ठीक है. Hastings had it till 1774, but the law and order situation was bad because of the Great Bengal Famine. Poverty is there, poverty होता है तो crime बढ़ता है. People are unhappy with the land revenue and therefore more crimes, more thefts and all of these things. गरीबी है तो crime बढ़ता है, ठीक है. So he was not able to resolve this problem. They had thought that with British administration, law and order will also improve, good administration will be there, and finally, therefore, he released Muhammad Reza Khan from jail. Reza Khan in jail? हाँ. In 1772, Muhammad Reza Khan was blamed for the Great Bengal Famine of 1770. कहा गया that you guys are corrupt. That is why the government could not do anything for the people. And without trial, he was put in jail for 2 years. कहाँ लिखा हुआ है? इसी के ऊपर लिखा हुआ है. ठीक है? You don't have to write down anything. इसी के ऊपर यहाँ लिखा हुआ है, देखिए. Arrested Muhammad Reza Khan, who was held without trial for 2 years. Because insisted, एक तो ये reason था, and second reason was he insisted on use of Islamic laws and Mughal sovereignty in non-Diwani administration. उसने कहा legally you have got only Diwani, but non-Diwani it is the Nawab of Bengal, so उसमें तुम्हारा क्या लेना देना? Who are you to tell me what should I do in Nizamat? I will be independent. So because of this reason, because of this reason he was jailed. So now he is released and he is told to head the Sadar Nizamat Adalat in 1774. So therefore this is what is happening. So first point now you write down. Warren Hastings system of 1772. Warren Hastings system of 1772. First sub point. First sub point. In Diwani Adalats at district level, European DC was made the judge. In Diwani Adalats at district level, European DC was made the judge. However, assisted by Pandits and Maulvis. Next point. In Nizamat Adalats at district level, Qazis and Muftis continued to be judges, continued to head the court. Qazis and Muftis continued to head the court, but now were put under supervision of European DC. Next point. Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat, Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat were now to be headed by Governor General Bengal and his council members. Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat were now to be headed by GG Bengal and his council members. Next point. There was conflict between GG Bengal and Chief Justice. There was conflict between GG Bengal and Chief Justice and Supreme Court at Calcutta. There was conflict between GG Bengal and Supreme Court at Calcutta. Set up in 1773. Due to lack of clarity on jurisdiction of the two. Next point you write down. Changes of 1773. First point. Separation of power at level of European DC. slash CCS officers implemented. that is European DC, that is European DC not to be a judge, that is European DC not to be a judge in Diwani Adalat and Nizamat Adalat. In Diwani Adalat and Nizamat Adalat. To prevent conflict of interest. 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 Therefore, an EIC official which is a judge cannot be DC. Therefore, an EIC official who is a judge cannot be DC as well. EIC official who is a judge cannot be DC as well. Cannot be DC as well. Cannot be DC as well. Next point. To bring justice physically closer to people. To bring justice physically closer to people. To bring justice physically closer to people. Diwani Adalat at district level. To bring justice closer to people. Diwani Adalat at district level. Diwani Adalat at district level ended. Diwani Adalat at district level ended. And 18 Mofussil codes. 18 Mofussil codes. 18 Mofussil codes. MOFUSSIL. 18 Mofussil codes set up. 18 Mofussil codes set up. Headed by EIC official. Headed by CCS officer, ऐसा कह सकते हो. Headed by a CCS officer. 18 Mofussil codes headed by a CCS officer. Headed by a CCS officer. What is a Mofussil? Mofussil is a rural area, a rural district. A rural district. So number of a district is bigger and a Mofussil is smaller. So therefore, when you have, let's say if you have one district and within that district, let's say you have 3 Mofussils. So therefore, now there will be 3 judges and therefore justice will be physically closer to the people. Justice will be physically closer to the people. भाई पहले दूर जाना पड़ता था district headquarter. Now you have division into 3 lower units called Mofussils and 3 judges will be there. So justice is physically closer. Right? So that is what is being done. But who will be the head of the Mofussil court? A CCS officer will be there. Indians will not rule India the Indian way. British will rule India the Indian way. That is Orientalism. So that is what he is doing. Right? So apart from this, next point you write down. Next point you write down. Amending Act of 1781. Amending Act of 1781. Amending Act of 1781 brought clarity in jurisdiction of Supreme Court at Calcutta. Brought clarity in jurisdiction of Supreme Court at Calcutta. Brought clarity in jurisdiction of Supreme Court at Calcutta. Dash. Territory of Calcutta. Territory of Calcutta. Plus British born subjects. Territory of Calcutta plus British born subjects. Plus British born subjects. Plus Territory of Calcutta plus British born subjects plus born. हाँ अंग्रेज है तू, अंग्रेज. अगर तू अंग्रेज है तो तेरा ट्रायल सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ही होगा. इंडियन ठीक है बाकी जजेस में सुप्रीम कोर्ट एट कलकत्ता में होगा. प्लस प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ ईआईसी property of EIC plus property of EIC, that is factories of Fort Williams. Property of EIC, that is factories of Fort Williams. Warehouses, factories of Fort Williams. So therefore, any crime which takes place in Calcutta, you go to Supreme Court in Calcutta. Even outside Calcutta, if there is a British born subject and that person is involved in some issue, you go to Supreme Court at Calcutta. And third point, if anything, let's say some case is there, some property related dispute, some goods related dispute between any Indian merchant and the EIC, that is issues related to warehouses or the factories of the Fort Williams, then again you go to Supreme Court. So therefore, that is the jurisdiction. CCS officers, they will be, obviously the Governor General of Bengal will not want him to be, they will remain under GG Bengal. CCS officers, they will be under GG Bengal. So that is what is there. Right. So वैसे उनके ऊपर कौन ही केस करेगा? Until unless they are engaged in some, crime, they murder someone or something. Right. So पुलिस पे भी कोई केस नहीं होता था. पुलिस, if the police is beating someone, तो कोई केस थोड़ी कर रहा है पुलिस पे. तो उस तरीके से नॉन कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. In 1781, a code of 1781, made written orders compulsory, and rules for courts functioning framed. Made written orders compulsory and rules for courts functioning framed. Rules for court functioning framed. Next point. In 1775, Committee of 11 Pandits, Committee of 11 Pandits, and in 1778, a committee of Qazis and Muftis, 1778, a committee of Qazis and Muftis for codification of Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. For codification of Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. For codification of Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. So इससे basically क्या होगा? Basically इससे different interpretation will not be there. So अंग्रेज बेचारे बौखलाए हुए हैं. They say that this is the same case. In this case, you gave this judgment, Mr. Pandit, or you gave this advice, Mr. Pandit. In another case, you gave another judgment or another advice. So the European DC is confused that these two cases were same. In this case, you assisted me by telling me that this is the right path. In similar case, you are telling me that something else is the right path. So what is the right path? Right? So they are saying that there is different interpretation. कभी आप कुछ बोलते हो, कभी आप कुछ बोलते हो, clarity नहीं है. So clearly write me down. 11 Pandits, you discuss, debate that in this scenario, whenever this situation happens, this is the Hindu law. This is the punishment and this is the person who is guilty or not guilty on this basis. Clearly write down that in every situation, who is guilty, who is not guilty, what is the punishment. So that there is clarity of law. And this is how we'll rule India the Indian way, but we will rule by creating, and our rule will be rule of law. But that law is Hindu law or Islamic law, but it is rule of law. Because written हो गया, written में कोई flexibility नहीं रहता. So that is what he is doing. Huh, everything, right? So this is what is there. Next point you write down, Cornwallis 8693. Cornwallis 8693. See broadly what Cornwallis, पहले समझ लेते हैं फिर लिख लेंगे. तो broadly Cornwallis क्या है? Cornwallis की personality है authoritarian. Cornwallis is integrity है, corrupt नहीं है. He is not corrupt, he is having integrity. Therefore, he does not want any corruption by the revenue officials. He does not want any corruption by the revenue officials. He is a person who wants to protect the security of property given to zamindars as per the permanent settlement of 1793. He is a person who is authoritarian. He does not believe in ruling India the Indian way. Right? He wants the British systems to be applied as much as possible. He wants to impose. Authoritarian ruler imposes his will on the people. So therefore, that will reflect in his changes. So what he says that I want to get rid of the Indians altogether from any kind of senior position. What is this? That in the Nizamat Adalat, these Qazis and Muftis are there. Clear? But similarly, what is this? Assistants by Pandits and Maulvis. Right? Inko aur status down karo. Remove them. So this is what he is doing. And second, in 1774, how is this Muhammad Reza Khan, head of the Southern Nizamat Adalat? चल निकले यहाँ से. In fact, the office of Deputy Nawab was itself abolished. कि कोई हमें नहीं चाहिए Deputy Nawab. चल. Right? And therefore now, totally the project which was started by Warren Hastings of removal of the Indian officials, now it is completed by Cornwallis. Now it is completed by Cornwallis. एक तो ये चीज़ है. Right? So see what he is doing. Actually हुआ क्या? When Cornwallis came back because of some reason in 1787, actually हुआ तो ये कि हम पढ़ रहे थे किताब. When we are reading, so one time it is written that your Warren Hastings, he brought separation of power at the level of European DC, at the level of CCS officer. But either you will be a judge or you will be a district collector. You cannot be both. Why? Simple point is, as a district collector, you applied some fine on some person. And the next day, he has filed a court case and you are the judge. And he's like, अच्छा आ गए हाँ क्या problem है? So conflict of interest is there. So therefore, this is against the principle of justice. You cannot be a judge in your own case. Because he has filed a case, Indian taxpayer has filed a case against you. So you cannot be judge in your own case, or your biradari cannot be judge in the same case. So therefore separation of power. But then the book again writes that Cornwallis also brought separation of power at the level of CCS officer. तो अपन हो गए कंफ्यूज. फिर थोड़ी सी हमने पढ़ा इधर देखा तो पता चला that in 1787 European DC was again given judicial powers. So somehow Cornwallis at that point of time, for whatever reason, he ended the separation of power. But in 1793, he again brings separation of power. So separation of power brought by Warren Hastings, ended by Cornwallis in 1787, reintroduced by Cornwallis in 1793. So that resolves my confusion. I don't want to get into that why he in 1787, why he did that. कोई उसका logic नहीं है. अपन का काम है इसको करना. ठीक है? So here what he is doing, here he is bringing a code of 1793, Cornwallis Code 1793. So whatever changes that he is bringing, they are part of Cornwallis Code. इसमें क्या करता है? वही करता है. Separation of power. If you are a CCS officer, decide करो. You want to be a DC or you want to be a judge. You cannot be both. And now what is the rationale? He wanted to protect the zamindars. He was in favor of landlordism ना. Cornwallis तो landlord में बहुत विश्वास है उसका. उसको लगता है कि landlord ही फूड सिक्योरिटी लेके आ सकता है. लैंडलॉर्ड एक एग्रीकल्चरल कैपिटलिस्ट है. दिस इज व्हाई ही इंप्लीमेंटेड परमानेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफ 1793. याद है ना परमानेंट सेटलमेंट 1793. नाउ वंस ही हैज मेड जमींदार अ प्रॉपर्टी ओनर, ही वांट्स टू प्रोटेक्ट द सिक्योरिटी ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ जमींदार. He does not want that zamindar should be abused, harassed by the revenue officials. Right? So therefore what he does? He implements separation of power. So if there is one European DC against whom a case has been filed, same person should not be the judge. To protect the property owner. So reduce abuse of power by revenue officials. Therefore for protecting property rights of zamindar, he is introducing separation of power. ठीक है ना. तो इसमें ये एंगल है, भाई मेरी प्रॉपर्टी, आई एम अ जमींदार, आई एम अ लैंड ओनर, आपने कहते हैं डिसाइड किया दैट यू विल ऑक्शन माई लैंड. I feel that I had already intimated you that before the evening of this particular date, I am going to submit money. थोड़ा सा delay हो गया. You came and auctioned my land. What is this? This is wrong. This is again principle of justice. I want to file a case to recover my lands. अब जज भी आप ही निकले या आपका दोस्त निकला, मतलब आपकी बिरादरी निकली. So that should not be there. So इस वजह से, right? Apart from this, एक क्या काम हुआ, there was increase in the number of cases, because when you made when high use of sunset clause is there, so a lot of cases will also be there. A lot of zamindars, they will go to the courts to restore their property, है ना. So therefore number of court cases they had increased. As a result, your Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat, they were under burden of high number of court cases. For example, what can be the one way to reduce the burden of the 76,000 or 78,000 of court cases which are pending in Supreme Court of India? एक काम करते हैं, above the high courts, let us have some junior Supreme Courts or deputy Supreme Courts. Let's say that India is going to have 4 new courts for the north, east, west and south. And as a result, all of these 76,000 cases, they can be divided into 4 and Supreme Court can now be totally burdenless. This can be a way. That means when you add a layer, you reduce the burden. So पहले 2 layers थी, district courts, सदर दीवानी अदालत, सदर दीवानी अदालत, निजामत अदालत, सदर निजामत अदालत. फिर वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स ने कहा in the civil side 18 मोफुसिल courts, सदर दीवानी अदालत. क्रिमिनल साइड निजामत अदालत, सदर निजामत अदालत. नाउ कॉर्नवालिस केम, ही एंडेड द मोफुसिल कोर्ट्स, and the new system is like this. He divides Bengal into 4 parts. Bengal Suba is divided into 4 parts or 4 divisions. So now at the top there will be Sadar Diwani Adalat as the final court. Below it there will be 4 provincial courts, या फिर 4 courts होंगे division level courts, and below each division court there will be a district court. Also for these cities they are going to be city courts. City area के लिए city court, normal rural area के लिए district court. So ऐसा structure बनेगा ये. At the top there is Sadar Diwani Adalat. 4 divisions are Bengal divided into 4 divisions. Calcutta, Murshidabad, Dhaka, Patna. And for all of these 4 divisions, you are having 4 courts. इनको उसने नाम दिया 4 provincial courts of appeal. अपील फाइल होगी कहां से? लोअर कोर्ट से. फॉर सिटी दे आर सिटी कोर्ट्स, फॉर डिस्ट्रिक्ट दे आर दीवानी अदालत्स. राइट? हाउएवर, every court will be headed by European judges now. That is CCS officers. And obviously Sadar Diwani Adalat under Governor General of Bengal and his council members. Right? So no Qazis, Muftis, no nothing. बस एक ये है assisted by Indian commissioners for cases below ₹50 dispute amount. तो कुछ नहीं है, ऐसे ही है. ठीक है? तो ये ऐसे ही कि छोटे केसेस, ठीक है, ये छोटे ₹50 वाले केस ₹50 इमेजिन. Right? So what is the reason? To prevent overload on Sadar Diwani Adalat. Similarly, for the criminal jurisdiction, he said that there is corruption by the Qazis and the Muftis. They take money and they do this. They take money कि तो भैया पैसा दे दे, तेरे को जेल नहीं करूँगा. Judges of the criminal jurisdiction, give us money and I'll give you bail. Give us money and I'll not imprison you. Right? So this corruption was there. Plus he wanted to remove Indians totally from everywhere. Right? So therefore now all the courts, they will be headed by Europeans only. Here also same structure. यहाँ पे कोई सिटी वाला मामला नहीं है. At the ground level you have निजामत और फौजदारी अदालत. At the district level 4 divisions, Calcutta, Murshidabad, Dhaka, Patna. So therefore 4 courts. इनको बोला गया court of circuit. 4 courts of circuits. Above it Sadar Nizamat Adalat. Everything it is headed by foreigners only, no Indians. So this is the system. सो आज के टाइम पे जब कोर्ट ऑफ सर्किट हम बोलते हैं, सो कोर्ट ऑफ सर्किट इज अ कोर्ट विच सिट्स एट मोर देन वन प्लेस, राइट? तो टू ब्रिंग जस्टिस क्लोजर टू पीपल. So let's say there is a district. So today, or let's say in Delhi, there is one court. Today the court is being held in Old Rajendra Nagar. Tomorrow the court will be held in, let's say, Rohini. Day after tomorrow the court will be held in Shadra. So that people, they are able to have access to the court. They don't have to travel much. So court of circuit which sits in more than one places, us tarike se. Also, how many of you are lawyers? Or you are doing LLM? Anyone who has done LLM? No legal background. No one. One. So your papa, academic papa, is Cornwallis. So for the first time, if someone is, for the first time it is being said that instead of you fighting your case, you can choose a vakil to file a case. So the profession of wakalat is coming into existence because of Mr. Cornwallis. ठीक? So therefore, he allowed for appointment of vakils or lawyers to fight the case. Office of Naib Nazim was itself abolished. Sadar Nizamat Adalat now again under Governor General of Bengal in Council. Mohammad Reza Khan हटा दिया वहाँ से. Right, so this is what is there. तो बस कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है? So that is what is there. So we can write down a summary. We can write down a summary. First point, Cornwallis reintroduced separation of power at level of CCS officer. Cornwallis reintroduced separation of power. अच्छा इसको लिख लो, ओवरऑल किस चीज की एक हेडिंग सी बना लो. कॉर्नवालिस जहाँ लिखा है ना, वहाँ लिख लो कॉर्नवालिस कोड 1793. मतलब ऑल ऑफ दिस इज बीइंग डन इन 1793 थ्रू अ लॉ और दिस थिंग, कॉर्नवालिस कोड 1793, right? So Cornwallis reintroduced separation of power at level of CCS officer. At level of CCS officer, Cornwallis reintroduced separation of power at level of CCS officer. To reduce concentration of power. To reduce concentration of power. To reduce concentration of power. To reduce concentration of power in CCS official, in CCS officer, to reduce concentration of power in CCS officer, therefore protecting rights of landlords, therefore protecting rights of landlords, that is zamindars, therefore protecting rights of landlords, that is zamindars. And reducing their harassment, HARASS, harassment. ठीक है? Next point. He created three-tier structure, TIER, three-tier. He created three-tier structure, three-tier TIER structure of judiciary, three-tier structure of judiciary, that is district courts, comma, four divisional courts, 4 divisional codes, and Sadar and Sadar codes and Sadar court and Sadar courts, Sadar court as the final court, and Sadar court as the final court, and Sadar court as the final court, Sadar court as the final court. ठीक है, तो नोट्स ये वाले हैंड आउट देख के आप नॉर्मली देख सकते हो भाई दीवानी में मतलब उतना मैं सेपरेटली सिविल और क्रिमिनल नहीं लगा रहा, ब्रॉडली 3 टियर स्ट्रक्चर है. एक ये सिटी कोर्ट्स एडिशनल है वो मैं लिखवा नहीं रहा, ये आप इसको प्रिंट आउट आपको लेना ही है, बट समरी यही है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, all courts were to be headed by all courts were to be headed by all courts were to be headed by European officials. All courts were to be headed by European officials. All courts were to be headed by European officials. As Cornwallis was an authoritarian, as Cornwallis was an authoritarian, as Cornwallis was an authoritarian, who wanted to remove Indians from all senior positions. As Cornwallis was an authoritarian who wanted to remove Indians from all senior positions. Remove Indians from all senior positions. Plus he wanted to remove, plus he wanted to decrease, plus he wanted to decrease corruption, plus he wanted to decrease corruption in Nizamat Adalats, plus he wanted to decrease corruption in Nizamat Adalats by Qazis and Muftis, plus he wanted to reduce corruption in Nizamat Adalats by Qazis and Muftis, by Qazis and Muftis, by Qazis and Muftis, by Qazis and Muftis. Next point. Now appointment of lawyers. Now appointment of lawyers. Now appointment of lawyers to fight cases of. Now appointment of lawyers to fight cases of others. To fight cases of others began. Began. Cases of others began. Office of Deputy Nawab, Office of Deputy Nawab was abolished. Office of Deputy Nawab was abolished. Obviously, you do not want any Indians at senior positions, so what is the utility of Deputy Nawab? Right? So this is what is there. Right? अब देखिए broadly क्या हो रहा है. Actually, in the Ryotwari, the number of court cases will be very, very high. Because lakhs of people have been given property rights. Because they are the actual cultivator, that is a Ryot, he is the person who is vested the property rights or the legal rights to land. In case of Bengal, Zamindars are made landowners. As a result, number of landowners, they are less. Automatically, the court cases, they are also less. Also, court cases will be relatively less in Bengal compared to Madras. I'm not saying absolutely less, because issue of how much is the revenue, that issue is settled. A fixed amount has been decided. A fixed amount has been decided permanently. So there is no dispute कि आपको tax कितना pay करना है. There is no dispute कि आपको tax कितना pay करना है, because that amount has been fixed. It is not a percentage. When you have amount as a percentage, so you say percentage of X. That is percentage of income. There can be dispute. Nahi sahab, my income is not this much. My income is this much. There can be a dispute. But when you have a fixed amount, so dispute will be less. So in Madras, it is percentage system. Second, number of landowners, they are in lakhs or at least in thousands. As a result, number of court cases will be very very high. लाखों cases हो जाएंगे, हजारों cases हो जाएंगे, thousands of cases will be there, lakhs of cases will be there. So therefore what to do? The courts will become overburdened. The courts, they will become overburdened, be it district court, be it divisional court, or be it the Sadar court, the top court. So therefore a solution was found that here we should not go for separation of power. Here we should allow the IAS officer to not just be land revenue collector but also judge. Separation of power is not practically possible in Madras, in Bombay, in Ryotwari areas because high number of court cases. As a result, the IAS officer of Bombay, IAS officer of Madras was much more powerful compared to the IAS officer of Bengal, because in Madras we will now have concentration of power. At the district level he will act as a judge, at the district level he will act as a district collector, both powers. Later on police powers were also given to him. So therefore you see DC becomes extra super powerful. He becomes the my baap. ये है मजा. ठीक है? Had we been present in the India of 1950s, had we been the officials, you know, तो मजा आता. तब मैं नौकरी कभी नहीं छोड़ता. I would have never left the job then. Simple. भाई हम ही जज हैं, हम ही पुलिस हैं, हम ही सब कुछ है. राइट? उससे और क्या चाहिए उससे ज़्यादा? भाई पावर ही चाहिए, पावर, और कुछ नहीं चाहिए लाइफ में. ये समाज सेवा वहाँ से यूपीएससी इंटरव्यू में गलती से मत कह देना आई वांट टू डू सोशल सर्विस. दे डोंट लाइक लायर्स. दे लाइक समाज सेवा करनी है तो आप एनजीओ खोल लो. व्हाई डू यू वांट टू डू समाज सेवा? ओनली बाय ज्वाइनिंग अ गवर्नमेंट जॉब. है? व्हाई डू वांट टू डू समाज सेवा ओनली बाय डूइंग गवर्नमेंट जॉब? यू आर अ डॉक्टर, you can save life. Save lives of thousands in your career. Save lives of lakhs of people in your career. Develop some vaccine by doing some research. And in an instant you can save life of crores of people all across the world. Tell me, is that bigger Samaj Seva, or by becoming a DC is a bigger Samaj Seva? Don't tell me that you want to do Samaj Seva. Interview, you never say Samaj Seva. ठीक है? Interview tell basically it's selfish interest. That's it, the job is good. The avenue which is provided, it is good. Responsibilities are good. And you be honest also. Sir, parents always also wanted, you know, that always there is a charm of, you know, this government job from where I come. Fine, at least you are honest. Right? So this is what is there. So that is what happens. That is why the system, the judicial system, it was implemented in Madras, but it is found that it is not suited for Madras. It was not suited for Madras, and therefore Thomas Munro, he convinced in 1814, he convinced the Court of Directors for a different system, and different system was nothing but the concentration of power in the district collector and his lower bureaucracy. Lower bureaucracy will be Indian, and the district collector will be Firan. So that is what is there. So that's why it is, and this thing is actually इसका तो repeat ही करना होगा, तो वो कुछ नहीं, एक simple line में लिख लेते हैं. Write down. Next point. Heading you can write down. Heading you can write down. Judicial system in Ryotwari areas. Judicial system in Ryotwari areas. Judicial system in Ryotwari areas. एक्चुअली मेलवारी में भी ये रहना चाहिए, बट बुक्स जो हैं सिर्फ रियोतवारी में रुक जाती हैं. जुडिशियल सिस्टम इन रियोतवारी एरियाज. फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट. Ryots were made landowners. And therefore courts were overburdened. Ryots were made landowners, and therefore courts were overburdened. Courts were overburdened due to high number of property and revenue related disputes. plus district courts plus district courts were physically far away plus district courts were physically far away plus district courts were physically far away for a poor yacht. District courts were physically far away for a poor yacht. District courts were physically far away for a poor yacht living in village. For a poor yacht living in village. For a poor yacht living in village. Therefore, Bengal system was replaced. Therefore, Bengal system was replaced in 1814. Therefore, Bengal system was replaced in 1814. Bengal system was replaced in 1814 in Madras on advice of Thomas Munro. On advice of Thomas Munro. On advice of Thomas Munro. In brackets, Governor of Madras 1820-27. In brackets, Governor of Madras 1820-27. Governor of Madras 1820-27. It is 1814. He is a senior official right now, right? Senior military man, senior official, but governor later. Next point. Next point. Separation of power. Separation of power. Separation of power. Separation of power was ended. Separation of power was ended. Separation of power was ended. And European DC was also given judicial powers. Separation of power was ended and European DC was also given judicial powers. European DC was also given judicial powers. So he can dispose cases. So he can dispose cases. So he can dispose cases. So he can dispose cases with assistance of Indian subordinates, with assistance of Indian subordinates in lower bureaucracy, with assistance of Indian subordinates in lower bureaucracy at ground level. At ground level. With assistance of Indian subordinates in lower bureaucracy at ground level. At ground level. This also led to greater Indianization. This also led to greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. This also led to greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. Greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. At lower levels. Greater Indianization of judiciary. This also led to greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. इधर देख लो सामने. Greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. That is, lower bureaucracy also got judicial powers. That is, lower bureaucracy also got judicial powers. Lower bureaucracy also got judicial powers. Next point, extended to Bombay by Elphinstone in 1819. Extended to Bombay by Elphinstone. Elphinstone चेला था थॉमस मुनरो का. Extended to Bombay by Elphinstone in 1819. In 1819. In 1819. ठीक है, डैश काटा मार दो, आगे चलो. आगे चलो, ये बात हम अच्छे से कर चुके हैं, इसको दोबारा लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. आप लिखो कोडिफिकेशन ऑफ लॉज. codification of laws was properly done, codification of laws was taken up, codification of laws was taken up, codification of laws was taken up by law commission under Macaulay, by law commission under Macaulay, MACAULAY, by law commission under Macaulay. The law member added by Charter of 1833. The law member added by Charter of 1833. The law member added by Charter of 1833. Macaulay. If you remember Charter of 1833, one legal member was added and then a commission was established. They did codification of law. Result अब लिख लो dash. CPC 1859, Code of Civil Procedure. CPC लिख सकते हैं एग्जाम में, सब कैपिटल में लिखना है. CPC लिख सकते हैं एग्जाम में, सिविल प्रोसीजर कोड और कोड ऑफ सिविल प्रोसीजर. CCP, CPC कोड ऑफ सिविल प्रोसीजर कोड, CPC बोलते हैं, CPC CRPC ऐसे. एनीवेज जो भी है, सिविल प्रोसीजर कोड लिख लो, कोड ऑफ सिविल प्रोसीजर लिख लो, पूरा लिख लो. कोड ऑफ सिविल प्रोसीजर 1859, इंडियन पिनल कोड 1860, CRPC 1862. ये इनका काम रहा, इनका रिजल्ट रहा. ठीक है ना, इससे ज्यादा थोड़ी लिखता हूँ मेंस में. ठीक है, राइट. अरे क्या यार, क्या रटो. CPC सिविल प्रोसीजर कोड 1859, पिनल कोड 1860 और CRPC 1862. प्रोसीजर आ रहा है 59 में सिविल का, क्रिमिनल का 1862 में. बीच में पनिशमेंट आ रही है कि किस चीज के लिए क्या पनिशमेंट है, व्हाट पनिशमेंट फॉर विच थिंग. ये लो. हाँ जी. 1772 से लेकर रियातवारी में भी निजामत चल रहा है. कौन आंसर करेगा? 1772 से ऑनवर्ड्स रियातवारी में निजामत चल रहा है. रियातवारी आया कब? 1801. क्यों आया वहां पे? बिकॉज अनेक्सेशन 1799 में अनेक्सेशन हो रहा है, फोर्थ एंग्लो मैसूर वॉर के बाद, एंड देन अनेक्सेशन तो 1801 के बाद स्टार्ट होगा. ठीक है, तो 1801 के बाद वहां पे रियातवारी में भी विच सिस्टम इज देयर? बंगाल सिस्टम. तभी तो बंगाल सिस्टम को रिप्लेस किया. नेगेटिव्स आए ना बंगाल सिस्टम के, दैट ह्यूज नंबर ऑफ केसेस आर देयर, तभी तो रिप्लेस कर रहे हैं बंगाल. एंड व्हाई बंगाल सिस्टम विल बी इंप्लीमेंटेड? Why Bengal system can be implemented in Madras? Raise hands. Why Bengal system legally, what allows the Bengal system to be applied in Madras? भाई बंगाल है, मद्रास है. Yes, by the Pitt's India Act of 1784. Pitt's India Act of 1784, Governor of Bombay and Governor of Madras were subordinated. They were subordinated in matters of war and peace and other matters also, revenue matters also. And then Charter of 1793 further increased the powers of Governor General of Bengal over Madras and Bombay. That is why the system of the Cornwallis can be implemented in Bengal, in not just Bengal but also in Madras and Bombay also, right? So that is why. अब बॉम्बे में क्या है कि 1819 में ही महाराष्ट्र आ रहा है. 1819 में ही महाराष्ट्र आ रहा है. जैसे ही महाराष्ट्र आ रहा है वो लगा दे रहे हैं. That's why 1819. हमने कहा ना कि extended by Elphinstone to Bombay in 1819. Why 1819? Because Third Anglo-Maratha War is ending in 1819, 1817-19. Right. So this is why. Now, what is the impact on Indians? Impact on Indians. Ata Majid Satakli. Simple point. The common Indian man, he is not Western educated. Even if you are Western educated, you start reading any law today. Start reading any law. The law in India is so complex. Clause 1 का सब clause 1 का सब clause 1A का सब clause. भैया पढ़ लो, पागल हो जाओगे. सबसे बेकार काम लगता है मुझे, तभी तो लॉयर लॉयर्स दे आर अमेजिंग, दिस इज व्हाट इज, मतलब ठीक है, तो वो पढ़ना पड़ता है, ध्यान से पढ़ना पड़ता है लॉ, राइट. सो लॉ इज वेरी वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स. हाउ कैन नो, यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड द लॉ, द कॉमन विलेजर विल नॉट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड द लॉ, एंड देयरफॉर अब पता नहीं क्या है, पता नहीं क्या है. दैट मीन्स द लॉ इज नाउ, जस्टिस इज नाउ साइकोलॉजिकली डिस्टेंट. इफ यू डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड द लॉ, जस्टिस इज साइकोलॉजिकली डिस्टेंट. पता नहीं क्या है, पता नहीं क्या होगा, ठीक. तो दैट इज द थिंग. सेकेंड, justice is monetarily distant, because now you have to understand that complex law, therefore you will hire a vakil, lawyer hire karoge. And justice is physically also distant. If you forget the Rotwari areas में अगर हम भूल जाएं, in the case of Bengal, justice is physically also distant, with district court है, and here also operation of the law. So basically in every way justice is now distant, physically, psychologically, monetarily, right? So that is why equality before law of the Charter 1833 was not practiced. That is, different treatment for Europeans continued. If you remember Charter of 1833, we had written, now there can be a single law for India which will be equally applicable to all persons, British or Indians. That means there was a promise of racial equality that was not there. Special privileges continued in different forms for the white race. Racial privileges were there in various forms in the criminal courts. Plus no application of law against the police official. If police official is beating someone, तो कोई सुनवाई नहीं है कहीं, right? So this is what is there. तो that is the impact. Overall summary wise देखिए ये है, वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स सदर दीवानी, मतलब दीवानी अदालत सदर दीवानी, फौजदारी अदालत सदर निजामत. देन इन द सिविल एरियाज 18 मोफसिल कोर्ट्स सदर दीवानी, फौजदारी अदालत सदर निजामत. कॉर्नवालिस केम, सो 3-tier सिस्टम, सिविल, क्रिमिनल, राइट. सो एक लाइन में समरी हो गई. नोट्स हमारे कैसे बनने चाहिए, शॉर्ट नोट्स ऐसे, ठीक है ना, एक लाइन में सब समझ में आ गया ना, यही है. इंडियन हाई कोर्ट्स एक्ट केम इन 1861, लेड टू एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ द हाई कोर्ट्स इन 1865. सो बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट, कैलकाटा हाई कोर्ट, मद्रास हाई कोर्ट, दे आर एस्टैब्लिश्ड, राइट. सो व्हाट इज योर कैलकाटा हाई कोर्ट? यू मर्ज द क्रिमिनल टॉप कोर्ट सदर निजामत, सिविलियन टॉप कोर्ट सदर दीवानी, एंड द सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन कैलकाटा. वो मिक्स करके बन रहा है आपका हाई कोर्ट इन कैलकाटा. सो देयरफॉर यू सी, ये जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन कैलकाटा है, ये नाम का सुप्रीम कोर्ट है रे, ये मिला के हाई कोर्ट बन रहा है, ठीक है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट इट विल कम आफ्टर द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट ऑफ 1935, known by the name of federal court. So finally in 1935 there will be a Supreme Court. Below there will be, Supreme Court obviously will be dealing with intergovernmental disputes. Intergovernmental disputes means if there is any dispute between a state government and the central government, or there is a dispute between two state governments, right? Or there is any question of law, or there is appeal against the high courts. Obviously if there is a question of law, only then the Supreme Court hears any case, otherwise you do not have a right to appeal to Supreme Court. You know, you don't have a right to appeal to Supreme Court. पता है आपको? You do not have a right to appeal to Supreme Court. In most of the cases, High Court is the final court. You can appeal to the Supreme Court only in certain cases, when you're able to prove that either some of your fundamental right is severely breached, or it is a question of law, or it is of national importance, right? So that is why. So जैसे अभी इशू चल रहा था ज्ञानवापी एटसेट्रा का, सुप्रीम कोर्ट heard the case because national importance, right? So not everyone's case can go to Supreme Court. You have to prove that it is a constitutional question. So that is why अब ये सारा मैं लिखवाने वाला नहीं हूँ, इसके अंदर कुछ है नहीं, right? So therefore इसको आप simply print out कर लीजिए, right? So that's why. अब पुलिस के केस में क्या हो रहा है, we go on a break of 11-12 minutes now because 6:40 हो गया, ठीक है. 11 मिनट में मिलेंगे, बट स्ट्रिक्टली 11 मिनट में मिलेंगे. घड़ी पे टाइम देख लीजिएगा, ठीक है, 10 मिनट अभी से, बिकॉज वी हैव ऑलरेडी लॉस्ट टाइम बिकॉज ऑफ सीटीज. अब देखो पुलिस सिस्टम तो सारा का सारा इसी से ही करेंगे, ठीक है, तो वो तो आप लिख सकते हो नीचे, पुलिस सिस्टम फ्रॉम हैंड आउट. समझने वाली चीज़ है ज़्यादा, क्योंकि लिख के तो टाइम वेस्ट ही होना है, बट समझा के करेंगे. क्या समझाना है यहाँ पे, देखिए मुगल सिस्टम में ब्रॉडली क्या सिस्टम था. आ जाओ, वेलकम. कितना शरीफ लग रहा है ये, सबसे सीटी यही बजा रहा था, सुनाई में आया मुझे. आ जाओ कोई नहीं, सारे काम आने चाहिए। देखो देखो आईपीएस बन के अगर गुंडों को हैंडल करना हो है, और गुंडा तुम्हारे सामने सीटी मार दे तुम डर जाओ, है ना, ऐसा भी नहीं होना चाहिए ना, सारे काम आने चाहिए, ठीक है ना, समझ रहे हो मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मतलब सिंबॉलिकली यू शुड बी रस्टिक, यू शुड नॉट गेट अफ्रेड ऑफ एनी रैंडम बिहेवियर, सारी चीज़ें होनी चाहिए, ठीक है ना। तो यू शुड नॉट बी ककून्ड इन योर रूम, थोड़ा सा समाज में भी जाना चाहिए, ठीक है, बाहर भी निकलना अच्छा होता है। तो ये सब चीज़ें। सो नाउ पुलिस सिस्टम, सो व्हेन वी डिस्कस द पुलिस सिस्टम, तो पुलिस सिस्टम में बेसिकली क्या इशू है, दैट व्हाई द पुलिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द ब्रिटिश। पुलिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द ब्रिटिश स्पेशली आफ्टर 1857 because police is the first layer of defense against any kind of Indian national movement, and therefore the Britishers, they want strong control of the police, right? They do not want any Indians in the police, because who will do lathi charge will be done by the police. So therefore if you are able to have control over the police, you will be able to have control over the Indian national movement, you will be able to have control over the peasant revolts, tribal uprisings, civil uprisings, etc etc, right? So मुगल सिस्टम क्या था, मुगल सिस्टम ये था, फौजदार्स दे वर इन चार्ज ऑफ द रूरल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स, फौजदार्स दे वर इन चार्ज ऑफ द रूरल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स और सरकार्स, सो इट इज लाइक डीएसपी, मतलब सुपरिटेंडेंट ऑफ पुलिस। कोतवाल्स दे वर इन चार्ज ऑफ द अर्बन टाउन्स, एंड विलेज वॉचमैन was the in charge of the police at the village level. And during the Mughal times, the zamindars, they had police powers during the Mughal times. Lord Wellesley reintroduced. Cornwallis took away, Lord Wellesley reintroduced. वो भी कहानी यहाँ पे देखेंगे. So zamindars, they were paying village watchmen. And why police is required? Because भाई zamindar, primary zamindar has to collect land revenue from the peasants. If someone does not give land revenue, then so that's why. So in that sense, right? Overall, at the top there was Naib Nazim or the Deputy Nawab, and this system it continued till 1781. This system it continued till 1781, right? So actually, Great Famine of 1770 it led to increase in crime rates, especially crime against property, because लोग गरीब हैं तो चोरी चकारी बढ़ेगी, ठीक है जी. 1781 system which was brought by Warren Hastings. What was this system? First of all, we know that it was in 1781 when the Islamic law was codified. So legal perspective we have already done. Committee of muftis and qazis, you know. So that is one aspect. Second aspect is Faujdar in the rural district is now replaced by English magistrate. That means IAS officer, that means CCS officer. Why? Because Warren Hastings also wanted to remove Indians from the senior level positions. We'll rule India the Indian way, but we will rule, not Indians. So need to get rid of the Faujdars, right? So at the district level now you have DM or district magistrate or English magistrate. But brackets में मैंने जानबूझ के लिखा है, किताबों में नहीं लिखा. क्या लिखा है brackets में? Not SP. That is not IPS officer. He is a IAS officer. He is a IAS officer. And under magistrates there will be zamindars with police powers, police duties as before. They will give money to the village watchman, and village watchman will be handling. So structure is DM and directly नीचे village level पे zamindar. Zamindar, one zamindar, primary zamindar can have more than one village under him. So ऐसा कोई वो नहीं है that each village उस तरीके से. So this is there. But now what is the impact? Impact is zamindars, their supervision was very very weak because number of district magistrates were less and number of zamindars were more, and therefore district magistrate could not properly supervise the zamindars कि आप ground level पे क्या कर रहे हो, primary zamindars. And as a result, atrocities by the zamindars increased or they continued, right? So this is what is there. Inadequate number of magistrates, zamindar atrocities because of improper supervision. Improper supervision, why? Number of supervisors are less. Number of supervisors are less, right? So this is what is there. So उस तरीके. So therefore we can say that civil officials they were in charge. DM is also civil official. Zamindar is also उसका तो revenue से related काम है. He is also civil official. मतलब official का मतलब he is also civil person. Cornwallis 1793, his system is called Daroga system. Now he came, he said he is giving zamindars property rights. He is making zamindars the landowner. So he says कि भैया देखो जमींदार, Your work is to be a businessman, agrarian businessman, capitalist landlord. तुम्हारा पुलिस से क्या लेना देना? You are a businessman now. I'm making you as a businessman. So you should not have any role in police. So he removed the police powers of zamindars. And instead he introduced, first of all, he is dividing district into thanas. Police chowki, police thana. ये तो सब जानते हो? Each thana will be having area of 30 square miles. 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. Right? So 30 into 1.6 into 1.6 kilometers. Right? So that will be the area. That will be the area of a police thana. Right? And who will be the head of the thana? Head of the thana is now a person called daroga. Right? So therefore, replace zamidar. Zamidar will be replaced by daroga of the thana. थानेदार. और आप देखो मूवीज बन चुकी है थानेदार. संजय दत्त था उसमें. ठीक है, तब आप पैदा भी नहीं हुए हो शायद से. जमींदार को रिप्लेस करके थानेदार. एंड ही विल रिपोर्ट टू द इंग्लिश मैजिस्ट्रेट. अगेन नॉट एसपी, नॉट आईपीएस ऑफिसर. राइट? दारोगा को अपॉइंट कौन करेगा? दारोगा विल बी एन इंडियन. ही विल बी अपॉइंटेड बाय द इंग्लिश मैजिस्ट्रेट, EIC official. So this is structure DM Thanedar. That's it. So not IPS. Thanedar is not reporting to SP. IPS को नहीं रिपोर्ट कर रहा, IAS को रिपोर्ट कर रहा है. He is reporting to IAS. नेट रिजल्ट क्या है? नेट रिजल्ट इज कॉर्नवालिस ने अपने बाल पकड़ लिए. कॉर्नवालिस लाइक व्हाई? बिकॉज नाउ जमींदार्स दे स्टार्टेड ब्राइबिंग थानेदार्स. जमींदार्स दे स्टार्टेड ब्राइबिंग थानेदार्स. And zamindars, they were able to misuse the police as they wanted to use the police. If someone is not paying rent, then the zamindar will pay money to the daroga, and daroga will come with his danda. Right? So this is what is happening. So Cornwallis declared that my system was good, but the atrocities by the zamindars, they are continuing because Indians, they are corrupt by nature. This is called zamindar-daroga nexus. Right? So new officer called daroga. Impact: darogas colluded with zamindars who continued to have their lathiyals or armed men, leading to daroga-zamindar nexus as instrument of coercion of the 1800s. Common man is oppressed by this. Therefore Indians were blamed for negatives of the system. Simple है, कुछ नहीं है इसमें. ठीक? It was also applied to Madras in 1802. Madras में भी extend कर दिया. So there, district magistrate is there, and below you have daroga. Fine. Now, negative impacts in Madras. In Madras, what is the situation? District magistrate, he also had. Later on, district magistrate will also have judicial powers, executive powers, police powers is also there. Right. So negative impacts, they are there in Madras also. It led to abolishment of the Cornwallis system. वहाँ पे अबॉलिश किया कि भी देखो यार, यहाँ पे जो छोटे छोटे जो भी जमींदार हमने बनाए हैं, पॉलीगार्स को कन्वर्ट किया है जमींदार्स में. when permanent settlement 1793 was extended to North Madras. Right? So वहाँ पे कुछ लोगों को जमींदार बनाए. ठीक है. तो anyways, there will be negative impact in Madras as there. It resulted in change of the system. And change of the system में क्या किया गया? अब ये इसको दारोगा वारोगा को सिस्टम को हटाया गया. And now concentration of police, revenue and magisterial powers in DC. Already we know that judicial powers, they were given to European DC in Madras. अभी हमने डिस्कस किया. Revenue powers, they are already with the DC in Madras. अभी हमने डिस्कस किया. He is also given police power. When DM is given police power, उसका जो lower bureaucracy है, it also gets police powers. Lower bureaucracy के पास भी जुडिशियल पावर्स हैं, लोअर ब्यूरोक्रेसी के पास भी रेवेन्यू पावर्स हैं, लोअर ब्यूरोक्रेसी के पास भी पुलिस पावर्स हैं. हु आर द लोअर ब्यूरोक्रेट्स इन मद्रास? रिमेंबर मद्रास टॉर्चर कमीशन? मिरासीदार्स. राइट? सो मिरासीदार्स, दे आर बिकमिंग मॉनेटरीली पावरफुल बिकॉज दे बाय द बेस्ट लैंड्स इन द ऑक्शन. Remember in Mehlwari, amlas and tehsildars also bought best lands in the auction. जिस बच्चे ने हेड आउट पढ़ा होगा उसको पता होगा. और एक बार मैंने रेफर भी किया था. यहाँ पे अमलाज ब्लैक डार्क बोल्ड में लिखा हुआ था अमलाज. राइट? आमला नहीं था वो. अमलाज आर रेवेन्यू ऑफिशियल्स. राइट? सो दे आर बिकमिंग मॉनेटरीली पावरफुल. plus they are revenue official, plus they have magisterial powers, plus they have police powers. ये सब ऑपरेशन करेगा किस चीज को? इट विल लीड टू व्हाट यू कॉल एज योर मेड्रास टॉर्चर कमीशन रिपोर्ट 1855. ठीक है, उस वजह से. सो यहाँ पे वही लिखा हुआ है, ऑपरेशन ऑफ दी दिस सिस्टम कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ऑफ पावर इट लेड टू ऑपरेशन ऑफ द रेवेन्यू ऑफिशियल्स revealed by Madras Torture Commission Report 1855. Just for the sake of interconnection, यहाँ पे mention किया है, Mirasidas, they were landowners who joined the lower bureaucracy and they bought the best irrigated lands in auction of lands of ryots who defaulted on land revenue payment. Plus they also got police and judicial powers. तो यहाँ पे interlinking के लिए mention किया है. Finally, a new model will come, and this new model it is based on Irish constabulary. It is coming in 1787 in Ireland. So actually Ireland was also a colony of Britain. Ireland was captured by Britain, right? And there the people, they were revolting. Many movies are also made. Irish Home Rule League was a any decent like freedom struggle, extremist like freedom struggle. IRA, Irish Revolutionary Army, that is like the Indian revolutionaries, right? So therefore, there to control the freedom struggle, the Britishers, they had applied a model which proved to be very, very efficient. That model for the first time was applied in Sindh, right? Sindh, which was annexed in 1843. Okay. New police department with following features. What features? Whole police of Sindh now to be under a IG. IG is a senior IPS officer. Till now we have not seen IG anywhere. पहले क्या सिस्टम था? अभी तक जो भी डिस्कस किया. At the top there will be a governor, governor of Bombay, governor of Madras. Below him district magistrates. Below him daroga. That is the system. Look at this system. At the top there is not governor. At the top there is IG. IG will be responding to governor. IG will be responsible to the governor. That's how today this happened in the police of my province. But day-to-day function, daily decision, law and order ka control is now under a separate person called IG. At the district level now, an IPS officer is introduced, SP. He's an IPS officer. ये DM नहीं है, separate है. That means you are reducing the burden on DM. You are taking away the police powers of DM. However, you will be responsible to the DC. At the district level, you will be responsible to the civilian DC. कि साहब आज district में ये हुआ. Even today, that is the biggest grievance of IPS officers, that we have to report to the IAS officer in the district. So IPS officer, he feels the anger towards the IAS officer like anything. That is why even when you get selected to IPS, you keep on giving attempt. In fact, when I went to Labasna, ठीक है, ऐसे घूमने गया था, ठीक है, एक हफ्ते रह के आया था वहाँ पे, ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे वॉलीबॉल का मैच चल रहा है बिटवीन IPS एंड IAS, ठीक. एंड यहाँ से IAS कैंडिडेट्स दे स्टार्टेड हूटिंग, 1 2 3 4 हम लिखेंगे तुम्हारी अपार, एनुअल परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल रिपोर्ट, ठीक है. सो देखो काफी मतलब गड़बड़ हो गई थी वहाँ पर. फिर डिबेट भी हुआ, तुम नहीं लिखते हमारी अपार, कोई और लिखता है हमारी. सो बेसिकली यू बिकम IPS, बट स्टिल हैप्पीनेस इज सो रिलेटिव. Even after becoming IPS, you're unhappy. Why? Because your roommate became IAS. And now he's going to have supervisory powers over you. जिंदगी में खुशी कभी नहीं मिलती. कल ही मैं नितिन गडकरी जी की वीडियो देख रहा था, उसमें ये था, I have never met a person who is happy in party politics. So Gadkari ji said that those party members who could not become MLA, they are unhappy. Those who could become MLA, they are unhappy that they could not become ministers. Those who became ministers, they are unhappy because they could not become chief minister. The chief minister is unhappy कि पता नहीं इसी term में या फिर अगले term में, or someone else. So this is the story of life. Happiness is all elusive. Right now I'm telling you, if I give you offer that I make you an IPS officer, will you be happy? Sir, और कुछ नहीं कर रहा sir. There sir, IPS is there sir. But the day you become IPS officer, that day you realize that if I had got 10-15 marks extra, I could have been IAS also. And suddenly you're unhappy. That is the story of life. Once you become an IAS officer, cadre. Even if you get a cadre, then district. Which district? Right. So that is, even if you get the district, for how long? That is it. Even if you get good districts for long period of time, then you are like central deputation. Will I be able to become joint secretary? Even if you become joint secretary, will I be able to become secretary? Will I be able to become chief secretary? This is there. This is a problem रहता है. Life में happiness is very elusive. Happiness is a state of mind. Happiness is a state of mind. That's why some people do. Some people go to Kasol. Remain happy. Totally happy. They again take. He's saying, sir, they are temporarily happy. So whenever they again take. Permanent happiness is not there in life. Gautam Buddha said, happiness is not there. Gautam Buddha said, you are born to suffer. Christianity says you are born to suffer. English में phrase है, ignorance is bliss. Awareness is not there. Happy. So therefore, that was the case with me. I became IRS officer. For many years, ignorance remained bliss. Then I realized that I should have given more attempts. Because the people, they do not let you forget. साथ वाले वो रोते रहेंगे, साथ वाले अटेम्प्ट देते रहेंगे, यार तू क्यों दे रहा है अटेम्प्ट भाई, खुश रहना IRS में. नहीं. वो आपको खुश नहीं, आप आपको रियलाइज करा देंगे कि यू आर नॉट एन IAS. इस तरीके से अब अपन को फर्क नहीं पड़ता IAS से. हम IAS को अपने जूते के नीचे लेके घूमते थे. हाँ, क्योंकि I was always by chance in Delhi. ठीक है, I belong to rural areas of Delhi. So by chance I have always been in Delhi. Delhi में there is no power of IAS. वो टूटी सी जिप्सी लेके घूमता रहता है, SDM लिखा के पीछे. As such, there is no power of the IAS. So भोकाल is not there. मतलब in my day-to-day interaction throughout my youth, I never encountered any issue with any IAS. Nor I saw any IAS कि अच्छा किसी फंक्शन में भाई IAS आ गए इस तरीके से. और जो एक IAS था वो बड़ा करप्ट था, तो वैसे ही पसंद नहीं था. There was one IAS officer, so he was famous as corrupt IAS officer. Like ठीक है, arrogant, बेकार. तो मेरी तो IPS और IFS का काम था, इसलिए भाई सबका भी सब्जेक्टिव रहता है, तो वो चीज़ थी. बट वहीं पे if I had been बिहार और if I had been UP, शायद 6 अटेम्प्ट हो जाते IAS, because ठीक है, so that is what is there. So IPS is now there, right? And IPS will report to European DC. And at the lower levels, there will be Indians. So at the lower levels, there can be Daroka. So system is, देखो simple, finally system. And books में क्या लिखा हुआ है? This resolved the age-old problem of integrating the rural police into the British police system. Integrating means single chain of command. So this see what the system is coming. So कहाँ अप्लाई हुआ वो सब चीज़ लिखा हुआ है. एक यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा है ये कंफ्यूज कि भाई एक मद्रास के केस में दे यूज्ड टू बी अनआर्म्ड सिविलियन पुलिस. ये कौन है? अनआर्म्ड सिविलियन पुलिस कौन होंगे? अरे मिरासीदार रेवेन्यू ऑफिशियल है तो सिविलियन है. मिरासीदार रेवेन्यू ऑफिशियल है, सिविलियन है ना, और पुलिस पावर्स है उसके पास, बट अनआर्म्ड है उस तरीके से. प्लस एक मिलिट्री पुलिस जो इन केस अगर कोई दंगा वंगा हो गया, फॉर दैट यू हैव आर्म्ड पुलिस, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, राइट. So now 1857 revolt जब हुआ, so this system of Sindh was replicated everywhere. Why? Because now you want a strong police, right? A strong police which is able to have a very good intelligence network, so we can get to know कि ऐसा revolt दोबारा तो नहीं हो रहा है, plus proper this kind of system, right? So and this is being implemented through the recommendation of 1860 Police Commission, which led to Police Act of 1861, which established EST is established structure and function which continued till rest of the British rule. Focus of reforms was on civilian control of police, See, that is always there. You would always want military to report to civilian government. You would always want police to report to civilian government. Why? Because the police, it is trained to, like army is trained to kill. Similarly, police is trained to, उनकी training ही क्या होती है? First training. If there is some crime taking place, what you will do? The first training is like physical assault. First training is somewhere physical assault. This is the thing, right? So therefore, you should have police under civilian control. So this kind of a thing. That's why IPS officer is selected through the UPSC exam, because a civilian is becoming an IPS officer, and further that IPS officer is reporting to another civilian authority IAS officer. That is why. Otherwise, brutality of the police can increase. So that is what is there. So see, this is a broad structure. IG or Inspector General, he is the head of the police. So today it is DGP, right? Then below that there is SP, IPS officer. Below that there is Sub Inspector. Daroga was replaced by a new name, Sub Inspector. He is also a Thanedar. So therefore now a single, finally from ground level to the top level, a single chain of command is there. ध्यान दीजिए दोस्तों, इससे पहले क्या होता था? Daroga used to report to European DC. But now this is removed and now Daroga will report to an IPS officer only. District, ठीक है? European DC as a in charge of police of the district used to report to governor. But now the district SP is reporting to IG. So finally a streamlined function is coming into operation. कि top से लेकर bottom तक all police officials. So therefore it will lead to professionalism. क्योंकि your job is purely policing. You do not have any other responsibility. Overburdening will not be there. आपको वही काम करना है. However, district SP will be answerable to IAS at the district level and IG will be answerable to the governor. So finally this structure comes. And इसको कहा जाता है कि age old problem of, ठीक है, this is what is there. Age old problem of integrating rural police into imperial organization structure. Complex English, but हिंदी में उसका meaning वही है. और simple English में वही जो मैंने आपको बताया. Age old problem of integrating rural police into imperial organization structure was resolved. That is, a well defined hierarchy of command in the police organization was established. Daroga was changed to SI, who reported to Superintendent of Police, who headed the district police and reported to Inspector General. So this is the meaning of integrating the rural police into the imperial organizational structure. This is meaning. Okay? So that is what is there. Right? So, वो तो है ही खैर. Indians were excluded from all important positions. Police Commission of 1902 allowed appointment of Indians at officer level, but they stopped in rank where the European officer began. So they will always want. Conclusion, from 1857 gradually police Raj was created as police became the major tool of repressing the revolts and the INM, Indian National Movement, and it was totally under the British control. Right? Though not a police state in convention sense, as there were legislature. Indian Councils Act 1861, Indian Councils Act 1892, तो पुलिस स्टेट कहा जाता है जहां पे कोई डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है. Police state is something where there is no democracy. So it was not a police state, but yes, police Raj or rule of police was there. मतलब extra use of this thing. Civil services, ठीक है. We know that until 1853 it was a source of patronage. East India Company will tell any British member of parliament that I'll make your son EIC official in India. You please support me in the parliament. It was a tool for the East India Company to win favors from the big people of Britain. But once 1853 exam is coming, so then patronage is lost. Sons and relatives of important men were nominated to the EIC service. This is what is there. Now, reforms of Cornwallis, that is before 1853, he is there in 1786 to 1793. He was a man of integrity. तो क्या कर रहा है? He is an honest man. ठीक है जी. Reduce the patronage. कैसे reduce the patronage मतलब? He will try to ensure that only those are selected into the service who are also meritorious. सिफारिशी टट्टू कम से कम आए. He will try to ensure, भाई इसके पास भी authority है ना, he is the governor general, court of directors they have an authority, but he is a man on the ground. So therefore, if ज़्यादा non-meritorious candidates are coming, he will reject them. He will say, sorry, court of directors, sorry, I cannot function like this. ज़्यादा issue हुआ तो, we know Pitt's India Act 1784, board of control is BAP of court of directors. So therefore, he can tell the board of control also, कि देखो, if you want good governance in India, so only meritorious I will select. So this is how he is trying to reduce the He is trying to promote merit-based selection. Increase salaries. Why? Because he wanted to curb corruption. Corruption, illegal private trade. Illegal private trade, as a EIC official, you are also doing trade as extra income. Increase salaries, barred from engaging in private trade. Focused on separation of power, as we have discussed earlier. So therefore, this is the reforms of the Cornwallis. Changes to the civil services after 1857. So these are the details which we have already discussed as part of the 1857 rule, but दोबारा देख लेते हैं. So competitive exam had been introduced in 1853. After that, before 1853, East India Company used to maintain a college, Haileybury College in England. That is removed. That is abolished, right? And now CCS recruitment to be done by examination to be held in England. ठीक है जी. Therefore, de facto Indian exclusion from covenanted civil services was ensured. Why? Because the exam is in England, it is far, far away, it is tough for the Indians to go, right? Brackets में हमने लिख लिया, Haileybury College was for training like Labasna. ठीक है, अपनी समझ के लिए लिख लिया. European officers were highly insecure after 1857 because they had this fear of Indians. That when the Indians they did not have any power, तो उन्होंने हमारा ऐसा भूत बना दिया, ठीक है? When the Indian officer they did not have any power, when the Indians they did not have any power, they did revolt of 1857. They engaged in massacres. What if Indians they are in positions of power? They were very very insecure, and therefore they will resist. They will resist appointment of Indians to the services, right? So anyone if talks about that exam should take place in India, like Ripon 8084. Lord Ripon was a good person. 8084, 1780 to 1784. No. 1880 to 1884. Lord Ripon. He was a good person. He suggested that we should hold exam in India. All the other officials, they resisted, right? English bureaucracy resisted nationalist demand of simultaneous exam in India regularly. एक और second example है. There was this service called statutory civil service. देखिए 3 टाइप के सर्विसेज थी. एक तो था covenanted civil services. Covenanted civil services like IAS officer. फिर था एक lower bureaucracy. Lower bureaucracy means like group B officers, right? So that is uncovenanted civil service. एक तीसरी ये लेके आए to placate the Indian demands, that is to agree to give some kind of a carrot to the Indians कि देखो हम मान रहे तुम्हारी demands. Statutory civil service. Now entry into the statutory civil service will not take place through any exam. It will take place through nomination. But यहाँ पे problem क्या है? If you are a intelligent person who is writing any article against the British in the newspaper, the Britishers, they will oppose you. They will ensure that your application to statutory civil services is not accepted. They will ensure that only loyalist Indians who do not criticize the British at all, only those Indians, they become member of the statutory civil services. In the statutory civil services, you can be appointed to such a post which was till now held by CCS officer. That means you can be group A officer. However, it will be ensured that you are never senior to any other European. वो तो एक norm है. So 1870 statutory civil services, here Indians could be nominated to some post earlier held by the covenanted civil servants. Only loyal elites were chosen. Example, this was ensured by Lord Lytton. Lytton was there from 1876 to 1880. Later on, we will also discuss Lord Lytton in detail. They opposed tooth and nail, that is the British officials in India. They opposed the positive reforms tried by Lord Ripon, which tried to give any kind of power to the Indians. For example, Lord Ripon, he proposed that we should hold exam not just in London, but also in India. This was opposed. This is miscellaneous, Ilbert Bill. It is not, it is also kind of related to civil services only. In the Ilbert Bill, बाद में discuss करेंगे detail में, Indian judges could be judged in a case which involves a Firangi. पहले तो सिर्फ if you are a British born subject, your case can only be there in Supreme Court at Calcutta. Ilbert Bill ने कहा कि इंस्टेड ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट एट कलकत्ता लेट अस हैव ऑल्सो, हमें पता ही है कि हाई कोर्ट्स, सॉरी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ कलकत्ता तो खत्म हो ही चुका है 1861 में, इंडियन हाई कोर्ट्स एक्ट 1861, ठीक है. सो नाउ ही बेसिकली सेज दैट at the district level, if there is any case involving a Firangi, then it can be the trial, it can be held in a court which is headed by an Indian judge. So therefore, if I am the Indian judge, you are a Firangi, you committed an offense against him, now I can be the judge in the trial. You are unhappy because you say that I am a Firangi, how can an Indian be my judge? Right? So therefore, that was Ilbert Bill. Tooth and nail, huge controversy took place. Literally, there was going to be a revolt by the white people in India. A lot of non-officials were also there in India, especially after which year? Huge number of non-officials will be there in India after which year? 1813. Why? Because India was opened up. So now many Firangi non-officials they are in India. Then when he tried to build local self government resolution, बाद में इसको भी डिस्कस करेंगे, but in the local self government resolution, at the ground level, at the grassroots level, at the rural local bodies and urban local bodies level, municipality level, panchayat level, power was given to Indians. That is, Indians they can head panchayats, that is urban rural local bodies, and Indians they can become mayors also, that is they can head municipalities also. They can head district boards and they can head taluka boards in the rural areas and they can head municipalities in the urban area. मतलब Indians होंगे वहाँ पे, ठीक है. This was also opposed by them tooth and nail. They opposed any talk about introduction of elections in India also. So that is not about civil services, but that is about politics. So overall, this is the scenario. Finally, reforms in the civil services they happened in 1892. क्या हुआ यहाँ पे? एक पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन बना 1887 में, उससे रिकमेंडेशन दिए तो रिफॉर्म हुआ. क्या? CCS was changed to Indian Civil Services, Covenanted Civil Services to Indian Civil Services. ये क्या रिफॉर्म है सर? कुछ नहीं, रिफॉर्म बस इतना है that earlier you were saying covenanted. Covenanted is something like you are above the normal people. Covenanted something like you are. Covenanted का एक बार मीनिंग देखना उस पर, लिटरल मीनिंग जो है. But what you understand from covenanted is that you're somewhat like heaven born, that you're somewhat special, somewhat noble, lord हो आप कोई, कहीं के आप राजा हो, covenanted, मतलब special. So it was एक तरीके से उसको simple कर दिया Indian civil service, right? So reducing that status, extra double status which was there. What is the definition? अभी आएगी, देखते हैं. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस जो आपकी अनकॉम्बिनेटेड सिविल सर्विसेज थे उसको रीनेम किया गया इनटू व्हाट यू कॉल एज प्रोविंशियल सिविल सर्विसेज. तो स्टेट पीसीएस एग्जाम मतलब स्टेट पीसीएस इट इज कमिंग हियर, प्रोविंशियल सिविल सर्विसेज पीसीएस, एंड द स्टैट्यूटरी सिविल सर्विसेज वेयर यू कैन बिकम एन आईएएस ऑफिसर ओनली बाय नॉमिनेशन. कोई एग्जाम नहीं देना, बस पहुंच होनी चाहिए. दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग इट इज एंडेड. Finally, it was the Indian national movement का pressure that Government of India Act 1919 it undertake to give a sum of money regularly to charity by means of a covenant. नहीं मतलब covenanted civil servant वो देखना होगा. But anyways मतलब it is about the name, the tag that you are covenanted civil servant and you are uncovenanted. मतलब it says that you are inferior, uncovenanted, covenanted मतलब कुछ इस तरीके से meaning, right? गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट से 1919 से फाइनली अलाउ हुआ कि इंडिया में भी साइमल्टेनियस एग्जाम हो. एंड ग्रेजुअली बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रेशर ऑफ द इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट, गांधी जी का स्ट्रगल चल रहा है, बाकी चीजें चल रही हैं, फाइनली बाय 1941 देयर वर मोर इंडियंस देन यूरोपियंस इन आईसीएस. सो दिस इज अ वेरी बोरिंग टॉपिक बट फाइन, ये है लिखना है, इतना कंटेंट मेंस में लिखना हो बहुत है, ठीक है. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज देयर. बाकी यूपीएससी की वेबसाइट पे भी आप जाइए, यूपीएससी की वेबसाइट पे जाइए. कैसे? यूपीएससी की वेबसाइट पे जाइए, वहाँ पे आप लिखिए यूपीएससी कोवेनेंटेड, बस इतना ही सर्च कर लीजिए. एक पीडीएफ आएगी, देयर विल बी अ पीडीएफ 1 पेजर 2 पेजर विच ऑल्सो टेल्स अबाउट एडिशनल कमीशंस. जैसे 1854 में एक और कमीशन हुआ था, मकौले द्वारा एक कमीशन एस्टैब्लिश हुआ था, सिविल सर्विसेज कमीशन, तो उसका भी प्रिंट आउट लेके हम लिख सकते हैं, ठीक है. तो इनफैक्ट इस चीज़ को आप लिख भी लीजिए, वो अच्छा है, डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट के सोर्सेज से. गूगल, यू कैन राइट डाउन गूगल covenanted UPSC and print PDF. UPSC covenanted. उसमें हिस्ट्री आ जाती है. किसी का इंटरनेट चल रहा है? मैं तो रुका हुआ है. मतलब मैंने कुछ और सर्च किया था कल रात को, मैं ऐसे ही देख रहा था, तो एक अच्छी PDF. देखो आज जी बात करते हो कुछ और, मतलब कि कॉम्बिनेटेड के अलावा कोई और वर्ड सर्च किया था यार. हद करते हो आप. कुछ और सर्च करूंगा तो मतलब ये यूपीएससी का डॉक्यूमेंट कैसे खुल जाएगा? अजीब बात करते हो. यूपीएससी कोवेनेंटेड, कोवेनेंटेड और मकौले भी डाल दो, फिर तो आ ही जाएगा. PDF भी लिख दो. हिस्टोरिकल पर्सपेक्टिव्स और सिविल सर्वेंट्स फॉर ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी. तो upsc.gov.in पे, हाँ ये आ गया. 3 पेज का है डॉक्यूमेंट. इफ यू गूगल यूपीएससी कोवेनेंटेड मकौले तो पहला ही लिंक आ जाता है. 3 पेजेस का है. इसको प्रिंट आउट ले लो. एज अ सिविल सर्वेंट बुक्स वगैरह जो भी लिखती हैं इनको हमें निकाल के एक बार पढ़ लेना चाहिए फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ प्रीलिम्स. ठीक है ना. 3 पेज है, इसको डाउनलोड कर लेना चाहिए. यूपीएससी कोवेनेंटेड मकौले, फर्स्ट लिंक आ जाता है. ठीक है, फर्स्ट लिंक ये देखिए इस तरीके से, हिस्टोरिकल पर्सपेक्टिव. ठीक है. तो सिविल सर्वेंट्स फॉर द ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी यूज्ड टू बी नॉमिनेटेड बाय डायरेक्टर्स ऑफ द कंपनी एंड देयर आफ्टर ट्रेन्ड एट हिलीबेरी कॉलेज इन लंडन. ठीक है. तो वो पूरा उस तरीके से. ठीक है. तो यूपीएससी इन सब चीज़ों को ध्यान रखता है कि कौन स्टूडेंट रट्टूत होता है किताब से और कौन स्टूडेंट क्या कहते हैं हमारे ओरिजिनल डॉक्यूमेंट्स भी देखते हैं कि जहमत करी किसने. ठीक है. तो इस टाइप के जहाँ पे भी अगर डॉक्यूमेंट दे आर नॉट, इफ द डॉक्यूमेंट दे आर नॉट वेरी वेरी ह्यूज, 3 पेजर है, डाउनलोड इट, कीप इट. जैसे फॉर एथिक्स, ethics you should always have a copy of code of conduct rules, because in daily life of civil servant code of conduct rules govern his behavior. They ensure that his behavior remains ethical. So therefore in your case studies you should always, wherever possible, you can mention the CCS rules, that as per the CCS rules this is also not warranted. एक आपको additional point मिलेगा. Right. So this is what is there. Right. So ये है अपना civil administration. After that what we have is your social reforms. Right. Next write down the heading social reforms. Socio-religious reforms. Socio-religious reforms / Bengal Renaissance. और इंडियन रेनासा. बंगाल रेनासा और इंडियन रेनासा. Bengal Renaissance or Indian Renaissance. Now, what do you mean by Renaissance? Why the word Renaissance is there? The word Renaissance is there because the features which were there in these socio-religious reforms, and when they are taking place, they take place in your 19th century. They take place in 19th century and specifically early 19th century. Or in the फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ 19th सेंचुरी, उस तरीके से. ठीक है. बट इट इंक्लूड्स सेकेंड हाफ ऑल्सो. बट जब अर्ली है तो हम कुछों के बारे में बात करते हैं और जब पोस्ट 1857 तो कुछों के बारे में बात करते हैं. ठीक है. प्लस वी कैन ऑल्सो मैंशन, हाँ ठीक है, प्लस पोस्ट 1857 ऑल्सो भी कुछ रिफॉर्म्स हुए. ठीक है. सो वाई द वर्ड रिनासा इज देयर? द वर्ड रिनासा इज देयर कोई बता सकता है why the word Vinasa is there? हाँ जी बताइए. From Europe. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Very good. So therefore, that means Vinasa, it means rebirth. Vinasa, it means rebirth. In simple point, it means that imagine that you have a laptop, and in that laptop, a lot of viruses are there, and now you are going to clean the laptop. You want to remove the viruses and restore the laptop to the best condition. Right. So now the laptop will again start functioning effectively. Right. So that is like rebirth. This word Vinasa, it is there is a movement of Renaissance in Europe. Renaissance in Europe, it began in 14th century. 14th century means 1300s. And in that Renaissance, the same thing was there. Actually, the people, they were very, very unhappy. The people, they were very, very unhappy, and they wanted to restore. They started wondering. They started wondering that nowadays, if you look at the polity, we are oppressed by the king, we are oppressed by the nobility. When we look at the religion, religion is very, very important in the society. So when we look at the religion, the church is becoming very, very oppressive in Europe, in Western Europe. For example, the church, it started, if there is any person, ठीक है अभी दिखते हैं, church is very, very oppressive. Plus education कुछ available ही नहीं है. The only education that is available is to read about theology, it is to read about Christianity. And the only job you can do apart from being a peasant is to become a clergy, is to become a man of religion. So therefore no education is available, no jobs are available. Everyone is a peasant. If you are a common man, you are simply a peasant. Right? So, and church was becoming very, very oppressive. In fact, in 1300s, there was this black plague in Western Europe, in England. Right? Like you have coronavirus, so similar kind of things was there where millions of people died. Right? So trahi bachi hui hai everywhere. Huge amount of poverty is there. Church, for example, it started saying that church, it became oppressive. For example, the priests, they'll start taking money for every ritual. And the society is very, very religious. For any auspicious ceremony, for any ceremony after someone has died or whatever, or if anyone is, koi bimar bhi hai, if anyone is ill also, so there also somewhere the blessings of the father, blessings of the clergy, it is required. And for every ritual, the church started taking money. And church became very, very corrupt and very, very rich. For example, church, it brought out an order that confession of sins is compulsory. At least once a year you should do confession. Otherwise you are not a good Christian. Otherwise you can be punished also. Now you are a very good person. You say like, I live my life as per the dictats of the Bible. I don't do anything wrong. Church is like, this is not possible. You must have committed some sin. You're lying. Once a year confession is compulsory. That is mean you have to come to church. Confession will take place. Again, some money will be asked from you. Those who were rich, they were allowed to pay money. But for example, you are a rich person, you are a lord, and you got angry, you murdered 3-4 people. Okay. So therefore now you're feeling guilty. You go to the church, you want to confess, and jali laga di. Jali ke bache, father, I want to confess. Right? Now father says, yes son, you have committed a lot of crimes and this required penance, paschatap. And therefore, sir, father, batao kya karu? Bhai, God will forgive you. If you do paschatap, you should do some holy pilgrimage, or you should make the whole village eat, food for free for these many days, whatever. Right? Now we're like, sir, father, but I have a lot of work. I have a lot of other work. Is there not any other path to please the God so that he can forgive me? So father says, okay. If you give me this much amount of gold or silver, then I can issue a letter to you. Letter, sir, हाँ. A letter whereby I will sign, the head of the church will sign, hereby proper rituals were conducted, and hereby this subject of the Lord or the subject of God is vindicated from all crimes, signed, given to you. You gave me money, I am like, हो गया तुम्हारे पाप माफ. Letter of indulgence. इसको बोला था letter of indulgence. Right? So they started selling letter of indulgence. This kind of a thing is there. Right? फिर कुछ ये monks बने. Monks means who will travel from one place to another. Right? कुछ एक reform लेके आया गया that you travel from one place to another and you give relief to the people, you spread the message of the God to the people. People are very much in poverty, there are diseases. So उनको एक सांत्वना ही मिल जाए कि भगवान हमारे साथ है, something like this. After that, what they started doing, they started validating any marriage for money. Well, they are traveling in a village or some place and आप मिल गए, ठीक है, आप मिल गए और आप कहते हैं एक लड़की को भगा के लेके आए हो, मतलब that you have some woman with you and that woman, let's say, is a married woman. Now this marriage, it is illegal, but you come to me, I am a corrupt monk and I say कि कुछ पैसा वैसा दे दो, I'll pass an order, this marriage is legal. अब आप छाती चोड़ी करके अपनी पुरानी बीवी के पास जा रहे हो, देखो, ठीक है, this is what is happening. So therefore they started legalizing illegal marriages for money. तो त्राहिमाम फिर क्या हुआ कि some thinkers they came, thinkers like Copernicus, thinkers like Bruno, such. Bruno सिर्फ कुत्ते का नाम नहीं होता, ठीक है, Bruno, some thinkers they started coming in and they started, they started saying things which went against God. Actually, the church was the sole monopoly over knowledge. Only they know the knowledge. They are the center of education. The whole education, it was all knowledge, it is vested by the God in the church. So when these Galileo, Copernicus, when these people, they started saying that, sir, earth is not flat, earth is round. Right? So now the church, it is angry. Why? Because they are the monopoly over knowledge. And the church used to say that earth is, bhai, janta curious hoti thi. Janta used to be curious. Right? For example, you used to ask the church, ki, sir, what is this, what is this aag ka gola? Right? What is this, like, this sun, what is this sun? What is this moon? Why does sun sets? Why does, why मतलब छाया क्यों आती है, मतलब सूर्यास्त क्यों होता है, सूर्योदय क्यों होता है, why does sun sets? ये सब क्या चल रहा है, हम क्या है? Please tell me what we are doing here, what is this? You will go to the church. So church could be responsibility. And therefore the church will be telling in those times that, earth is, they will be, they see earth is flat. God created earth as a flat so that we can live on it. Right? Sun, you see, sun, it removes around it rotates around the earth. कैसे? यहाँ खड़े हो जाओ. Morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Looking at the sun? Yes. Stand still. See, now the sun is moving. You are not moving. Hence proved. That sun revolves around the earth. Right? So therefore this kind of thing is there. They are saying, sir, how this, why this day and night happens, etc., etc. Right? And what is this, where are we? What? So therefore the church said, कि Jesus Christ is there. And Jesus Christ is revolving the solar system like this actually. He's revolving the universe like this. So that is how this chakra of life is going on. So therefore this was their explanation. Now these Galileo, etc., they started saying that, no, center of the universe is sun. The center of our solar system is sun. And around that, the planets revolve, earth revolves around the sun. Right? That the heliocentric theory. Right? Instead of geocentric. Right? Then you have that earth, it is round, not flat. So church, ab दिक्कत में आ गई. चल लाइए telescope ले लिए. ठीक है. So therefore, church, for example, banned their work. After that, they did not allow them to work. They charged them of heresy. Heresy means you have said something against God. Blasphemy or heresy. And Bruno, for example, who supported Galileo, he was burnt alive. Okay, इसकी माता आ गई, इसकी माता पागल हो गए. मतलब for example, if anyone will start saying that, if anyone will argue that no, the earth is indeed round and all of these scientific findings, so the church will say Saturn has possessed you, some witch has possessed you, and therefore you need to be burnt alive. Okay, so therefore people, they were burnt alive, thinkers, they were burnt alive if some thinker is coming, right? So therefore this is what is there. So now after all of these things, gradually, this Renaissance started. And what is Renaissance? Renaissance, it simply means that you are focusing on rebirth. And the focus of Renaissance, it is on humanism. Humanism means human, right? Humanism, right? That means you're trying to improve the life of man. Church will say you are born to suffer. Renaissance people, they will say no, we are not born to suffer. Happiness can be there in this world. Right? How to achieve happiness? They will say if we follow rationality, if we follow logic. That is, if we do not agree to anything without logic, then we can find solution to every problem. Right? So reason became the main pillar. Reason, rationality, they became the main pillar. Idea was to question everything. कि अच्छा हम कैसे मान लें that the earth is flat? Why should we agree that we are born to suffer? Why should there be feudalism that is based on birth? Why should there be certain special privileges for some people and different laws for other people? Why should there be a monarchy? Cannot there be some other kind of political system where we are more happy? In the initial phase, they focused on, to improve the life of man. 14th century में उन लोगों के पास और कुछ था नहीं. 14th century में ये scientific revolution etc. 16th century में आई 200 साल बाद. So in 14th century they had only one thing with them. क्या? उनको इतना पता था that ancient Roman civilization, ancient Greek civilization, they were great, they were awesome, and therefore the first step they took two steps. First step they took was, let us go back to our golden past. Let us study the ancient Roman scriptures. Let us study the ancient Greek scriptures. And let us try to go back to that good society where everyone used to be happy and such things were not there. Right? Second step they started doing is that they started focusing on man in the art. You see this portrait mode? Portrait mode or self-image, selfie. This idea of selfie or portrait of a person, that in the picture there will be only one person. This idea came as a product of Renaissance. That is, we can focus on one man. We can focus on his happiness. Let us focus on man, human. This idea that let us study the body of man. कि ये क्या है? ठीक है, क्या चीज है, सबका कहाँ क्या चीज है, ठीक है. सो देयरफॉर मैन वाज नाउ पेंटेड, बॉडी ऑफ मैन विल बी पेंटेड. यूरोप में जैसे आप काफी जगह जाओगे स्टैचूज लगे हुए, स्टैचूज ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स. सम ऑफ स्टैचूज आर आल्सो टोटली विदाउट क्लोथ्स आल्सो. सो यू माइट बी लाइक वाह, but the point is they wanted to celebrate the way the man is. So portrait form of painting, they became famous. People now started getting portrait. For the first time, Jesus and Mary, they were painted in human forms on the walls of the church in 14th century. That Jesus is a person. So how does he look? So Da Vinci, these all people, they came at this point of time. Right, painters, right, where there is focus on painting humans. So these two things were there. So this is like from world history, and that also like not properly part of the syllabus, but this forms the part. And they want to improve. Why they are focusing on the man? Let us study the जो भी problem है ना इंसान की वो solve करनी है. कैसे? अब तुम्हारे यहाँ दर्द है, ठीक है? So therefore let me understand your body. Let me understand how this. So Renaissance तो इतना ही है, बट बाद में जो साइंटिफिक रेवोल्यूशन है, जो आपकी एनलाइटनमेंट मूवमेंट है, एनलाइटमेंट इज रिलेटेड टू पॉलिटिक्स, ऑल ऑफ दीज आर प्रोडक्ट ऑफ Renaissance. दे आर चिल्ड्रन ऑफ Renaissance. तो क्या है लाइफ ऑफ मैन? लाइफ ऑफ मैन मतलब सर मेरे यहाँ दर्द हो रहा है आज, राइट? किसी को शुगर हो गया, किसी को बीपी हो गया, किसी को माइग्रेन है, कोई मर गया. क्यों मर गया? सो लेट अस स्टडी बॉडी. So now for the first time body will be dissected. Body will be dissected. निकाल जाएगा, अच्छा ये क्या है, अच्छा ये हार्ट है, ये क्या है, किडनी है. This thing will start now. कि let us study the body of the man so that we can improve the health of man. Focus on humanism. Focus on humanism. Let us study the mind of man, humanities, psychology, individual man की study, sociology, when man is put in a social group, how does he behaves, anthropology, जो आपके subjects हैं. So therefore humanism, that's why humanities. History, what is the history of man? Humanities. History of society, humanities. यहाँ से आता है humanities, focus on human. ठीक है. Blood circulation, ये blood क्या है? How does it circulate? So blood circulation. All of this is part of scientific revolution. Scientific revolution in your 18th century. ठीक है. Then man, he wakes up, body is there. Apart from that, he goes to, let's say, church. So what can be the best form of religion? Cannot there be a better religion so the man is happy? So church, Catholic church broke away into two factions, Catholic church and Protestant church. Protestant church was relatively more chill, relax. Focus on rituals will not be there, focus on spiritualism will be more. Right? For example, divorces will be allowed by the Protestant church but will not be allowed by the Catholic church. Remarriage will be allowed by the Protestant church but not by the Catholic church. So therefore reform of religion. Here we are socio-religious reforms. Reform of religion in the form of reformation of 16th century. ये आपको कुछ याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है, एग्जाम में कुछ काम नहीं आने वाला, बट समझा रहा हूं मैं कि रिनासा क्यों कह रहे हैं इसको. ठीक है. सिमिलरली, where are we, what is the solar system, what is earth, Newton's 3 laws of motion, scientific revolution. That is, can we improve the life of man with the help of science? Can we improve the life of man with the help of science? Right? Economy, capitalism. Can we improve the life of man? Can we improve the economy of man? Kaise? Let us get rid of this. All the property was owned by the aristocratic nobility. Aam Aadmi was tenant rayot, landless. He did not have any property. So therefore, plus forced labor used to be there. Any common man cannot leave his village. He has to work on the farm. So therefore now, capitalism. Allow anyone to do anything in the market. Allow anyone to do anything in the market. So therefore, in the domain of economy, capitalism came. In the domain of economy, capitalism came. Enlightenment, a life of man, politics. Raja kaun hai hamare yahan ka? What kind of polity are we living in? This impacts your quality of life. Who knows? You move out of the कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, पुलिस ने आप लोग उठा लिया. भाई क्यों उठा लिया? ऐसे उठा लिया. राइट. सो देयरफॉर, या फिर कोई रैंडम कोई रूल ऑफ लॉ नहीं है. सो देयरफॉर व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पॉलिटी इज बेस्ट फॉर अस सो दैट द मैन ही इज हैप्पी, ह्यूमन इज हैप्पी. सो दे केम आउट विद द आइडियाज ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट्स, दैट देयर आर सर्टेन इनएलिनेबल राइट्स जो कि कोई नहीं छीन सकता. इनएलिनेबल, दैट नो वन कैन टेक अवे फ्रॉम यू. They came out with the ideas of separation of power, that there should not be concentration of power, idea of self-rule, idea of democracy, idea of republic. All of these ideas, they are coming in the form of enlightenment movement of 18th century, 19th century. Right, 18th century. These ideas, so therefore this is what your Renaissance was. Renaissance is like father, it is focused on art and culture, it is focused on reform of religion. That is, let us go back to our scriptures to bring back the golden past. And later on, from Renaissance, birth is taking place of enlightenment, scientific revolution, capitalism, and all of these things. These ideas, they lead to American Revolution 1765 to 1783, French Revolution 1789. Establishment of democracy takes place. End of feudalism, that is, on the basis of birth, no one is going to have any special privilege. Everyone is born free and equal. Right? So therefore, French Revolution 1789. Idea of nationalism. Nation is summation of people who feel one. So therefore, for the first time, these things are coming. So we are moving away from feudalism to modernism because of Renaissance. development in science, everything, that is Renaissance. So Renaissance, that's why you call it rebirth. There is rebirth in economy, my friend, with the help of capitalism. There is rebirth in polity, my friend, with the help of democracy and enlightenment ideas. There is rebirth in science because of the scientific revolution. There is rebirth in religion because of Reformation, that is Protestant church. There is rebirth of man by focusing on man, humanism. Let us try to improve life of human in economics, in polity, in religion, in culture, in society, in science, everywhere. Science is for the benefit of man, right? So basically, by doing, and what is the tool of achieving this? Focusing on logic, reason, rationality. Science is all about rationality, hypothesis testing. We'll not accept anything. Why rule of a king is good? We'll ask question. We'll question everything. Tell us logically. Which kind of polity is best for people? If the people, they are ruling themselves, they'll always decide things which are good for themselves, and therefore masses will be happy. Therefore, why should we have this dynasty? We should have democracy. So see, follow reason, rationality, logic. Why only the nobility should be allowed to have all the wealth in the country in the form of property ownership? Why there should be forced labor by the common man? So capitalism. So logic follow karna hai har cheez mein. So they said, like there are natural laws of physics, similarly there are natural laws of economics and politics. And democracy is the natural law of politics, and capitalism is the natural law of economics. And whatever is natural is good. Why? Because nature was created by God. And how can we find out what is the natural law of economics? By focusing on reason, rationality, logic. How can we find out what is the natural law of politics? Reason, rationality, logic. So जैसे हमने natural law of physics find किए हैं, ऐसे हम natural law of economics और politics भी find करेंगे. और जो nature होगा, nature भगवान बनाता है, तो भगवान जो बनाता है वो सही बनाता है, तो वो बेस्ट है. और जो नेचुरल लॉ होता है वो मतलब उसे कोई चेंज नहीं कर सकता. नेचुरल लॉ इज नेचुरल लॉ. ग्रेविटी इज अ नेचुरल लॉ, तो वो नेचुरल लॉ है. बॉल हर बार नीचे गिरेगी, सेब, संतरा, तरबूज सब कुछ ऊपर से नीचे ही गिरेगा. Why? Because this is nature. This is how God created. So let us find out what God would have intended in economics, what God would have intended in politics. So ये पूरा आपका रिनासा है. So that is the birth of humanities which you study, and that is the whole thing. अब क्या है? You are Raja Ram Mohan Roy. You attended my class. Western education. Western education since 1813. Western education properly after 1833. Western education. Right? You are Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Western. You attended my class. ठीक? ऐसे मजाक कर रहा हूँ. ठीक? अपन छोटे आदमी. ठीक? तो anyways, इमेजिन कर लो ना. इमेजिनेशन तो अच्छी होनी चाहिए. सो वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन. आई एम ब्रिटिश. यू आर वेस्टर्न एजुकेटेड इंडियंस नाउ. एंड नाउ व्हाट यू सी? You are impressed by reason, rationality, logic. You look at British, they have big ships. British, they have good weapons. British have democracy. British have Renaissance, Enlightenment, Reformation, all of these things. And now the Britishers, they are criticizing you. That your civilization is degraded. Look at the British civilization. And you're studying about this British civilization and all of these things in the class. So now, I have given you a tool. With this tool, this is a lens. ऐसे नहीं पकड़ते lens. Lens. This is a lens. And this lens, this is a very powerful tool, my friend. This is a tool of reason, rationality, logic. अब आपने हाथ में tool पकड़ लिया. ठीक है? And you're like, by following reason, rationality, logic, with the help of this lens, I'll try to examine each and everything of my society. I'll try to examine what is happening with women. Right? That is, with this lens of rationality, is sati logical or illogical? Is child marriage logical or illogical? Is not allowing widow marriage logical or illogical? Right? So with the help of this, and I will accept anything and only if it meets the test of logic, rationality, reason. And whatever I find illogical, that needs to be changed. And if I do this, I will restore the glory of the past. The degradation of the Indian society will go away. So therefore एक tool मिल गया. So assess, question everything. So basically आप western educated हो. आपने कहा कि भाई Britishers, they are able to become so rich, they are able to become so developed. So let us, me also copy what happened in there. So that's why the social reform movements are also called Bengal Renaissance. Because you were western educated and you wanted Renaissance in India also. And you are also following the same tools, reason, rationality, logic, and you are also trying to look at your golden past, कि past में चीजें कैसी थी. So this is what is happening. ठीक है? This is what is happening. तो ये चीज है. अब इसमें देखो 2-3 और एस्पेक्ट हैं, इंटरेस्टिंग एस्पेक्ट. नेक्स्ट क्लास में प्रॉपर्ली करेंगे. रीजंस आप देखिए क्या है. एक तो क्या है कि Britishers actually till 1800, if I look at the reasons, कि ये हुआ क्यों, ये सब चीजें हुई क्यों. इसमें फर्स्ट आता है लॉजिक दैट टिल योर 1813, till 1813 they said that laptop has virus, else it is great. Else it is great. Right? And Britishers, they are saying, we will repair laptop. This is what? Orientalism. That means they used to say that Indian laptop is awesome, but abhi virus aa gaya hai. And therefore, who will remove the virus? We will remove the virus. So therefore, till 1813, the Britishers, they used to say that the Indian civilization is great. The Indian civilization is great. Ancient Indian civilization is great. However, over a period of time, degradation has taken place. Over a period of time, degradation has taken place. And therefore, because we believe in Orientalism, therefore, restoration of the golden past needs to be done. But who will restore the greatness of the Indian civilization to the Indians? Britishers, not Indians. So therefore, you see Warren Hastings, he is establishing committee of Pandits. Pandits, they are debating, but final decision is of the Warren Hastings. That okay, this is what the Hindu law actually says. Warren Hastings is establishing committee of Qazis and Muftis, codifying Islamic law. They will debate among each other, but final authority, ये ठीक है, ये गलत है, it will be with Warren Hastings. So he is giving us that, अरे बुद्धू, this is what your Hindu law says. This is what your Islamic law says. Right? And therefore, I have restored your golden past to you. Now Warren Hastings will set up Calcutta Madrasa. ACST society will be set up by William Jones. Sanskrit college will be established. They will study our past, they will study our scriptures, and they will restore the golden past to us. They will try to rule India the real Indian way. They'll try to rule India the actual Indian way. Because Indians, they do not know, they have forgotten what is the Indian way. Their society has degraded. So that is what your Orientalism is. After 1813, what happened? After 1813, they say that, sorry, viruses are just too many. And laptop cannot be repaired. And laptop cannot be repaired. तो क्या करना है? You need to buy British laptop. New. You need to buy British laptop new. That you are beyond redemption. They are saying your society is so degraded that you're kind of like beyond redemption. So therefore, there is no point restoring the Indian golden past, bring Christianity into India, bring British law into India, forget the Indian law, Hindu law, Muslim law, sab bhul jao, bring the British law, bring the British administration, bring the British government, governance in India, and therefore bring the best ideas of the age which are there with us to India. If you remember Charter Act of 1813, what were the reasons given by them to open up India? Opening up India will lead to foreign direct investment in India. Opening up India will lead to transfer of technology to India. Right? So, Charles Grant was there in the court of directors. Christian missionaries, they are allowed of free entry after 1813. So, basically they are saying कि अब रिस्टोर करना छोड़ो, अब नया खरीदो फोन, लैपटॉप नया खरीदो, ब्रिटिश लैपटॉप. So, in religion also, in governance also, everywhere. This is what is happening. So now they are saying viruses are too many and laptop cannot be repaired. इससे क्या होगा? You are the owner of the Indian laptop. You are an Indian. बुरा फील होगा ना? नहीं होगा फील. तभी तो तुम कहते हो तुम्हारे जैसे लोग बिकाऊ होते हैं, तुम्हारे जैसे लोग. If I am an Indian, I'll feel bad. They are saying, they are criticizing me. They are in a way indirectly insulting me. They are telling me that my original system, which I had developed, is so bad that now I'm beyond repair. And now some foreign system will be imposed on me. So therefore it will trigger what you call as, so therefore this is what your British criticism. It will trigger cultural nationalism. It will trigger cultural nationalism. And as part of this cultural nationalism, you will try to say, no, laptop is repairable. Cultural nationalism will say, laptop is repairable. Yes, we agree there are viruses. Laptop is repairable. That is, yes, virus, but can repair. Laptop is repairable. Laptop is repairable. So this is why Raja Ram Mohan Roy will say Vedas, they have rationality. They have reason in them. They have rationality, they have reason in them. Right? So therefore, this is why they will glorify Vedas. This is why they will glorify Vedas. Second aspect was also there with respect to use of Vedas. Kya tha? How to convince the people. Religion is very, very emotional issue. So therefore, focus was on Vedas. Going back to the golden past. Second point is, there was also utility. Plus utility of Vedas. What is the utility of Vedas? Utility of Vedas is, if you try to tell, India is a very religious society. If you try to tell Indians that stop doing child marriage because it is not reasonable and rational. Indian person will say कि भाई मेरा आस्था का सवाल है. Indian religion, Hindu religion does not allow that we should before your menstruation begins, before your 14 years of age, 11 years of age, before puberty, we need to get our daughter married. Otherwise, it is तो हम धर्मभ्रष्ट हो जाएगा हमारा. So देखो अपनी rationality रखो गोज में. Take your rationality, keep it in your pocket, और दिखियो मत, भागता जाइए यहाँ से. ठीक है? Therefore, what rationality? What thing are you talking about? Right? So therefore, rationality. The problem is, what is now the reformers? They will first identify what you call as what is the logical thing to do, and then they will try to study Vedas, and then try to tell that see, as per the Vedas, child marriage should not be there. They'll try to use lens of logic. Next problem, widow remarriage. Now they will study Vedas and they will try to prove widow remarriage, it is allowed by the Indian Shastras. Widow remarriage is allowed by the Indian Shastras. Similarly, sati. तो राजा राम मोहन राय तो लेंस लेके सती के पीछे पड़ गए. राइट? उन्हें सारे शास्त्र देख डाले. And he tried to prove that sati is murder as per every shastra. So they are, now you'll be like, oh, So that means I was not following Vedas. I was not following my religion. I will say, ha. Then so, okay, now I'll change. So therefore, there is utility of Vedas. Why? Social reforms, they will be accepted. Acceptance of reforms will take place by the people. If you convince me that this is the right thing as per Vedas, ज्ञान मत दो, rationality, logic. If you talk about rationality, logic, तो फॉर में मुझे लगे आगे है अंग्रेजों का टट्टू. That he is nothing but a slave of the Christians, slave of the British, and therefore he is coming and telling me this is right, this is wrong. तुम कौन होते हो हमारे रिलीजन में इंटरफेयर करने वाले? Who are you to interfere in religion? Keep your rationality with you. हमें सिखाएंगे. This will be the reaction. So therefore, utility of the Vedas is also there. This is why they focused on the Vedas, because of these two reasons. Because of these two reasons. Right? So this is what is happening. एक और चीज थी. However, they focused on Vedas, but these early social reformers, they did not say that Vedas are infallible. उन्होंने कहा कि देखो, Vedas can be wrong also. मतलब for these people, what was the supreme thing? Supreme thing was logic, reason. And if there is fight between logic and Vedas, then for Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Vidyasagar and others, logic will win. Logic will win. So supreme is logic for them. And in this sense, they are simply using the Vedas for greater acceptability of reforms that they want. If someone is able to prove that widow remarriage is not allowed by the Indian Shastras, then reformers will say, then we need to change the Shastras. For them, logic is supreme. For them, supreme is logic. Early 19th century वाले reformers के लिए. This is the aspect which is there. ठीक है? तो एक ये चीज है. ठीक है? फ्यूचर के लिए वो क्या चाहते थे? Did they really want to go back to the golden past? Answer is no. वो ये चाहते थे for the future. Future they say lies in, it lies in Western sciences. Future lies in Western. They were fans of Western sciences. Physics, chemistry, maths. Physics, chemistry, maths, biology. They are science. They are fans of this. They are fans that they are fans of this Western sciences. Future, it lies in, they will say, West-like polity. That is democracy. Right? So therefore, for future, they are nationalistic. They are culturally nationalistic. उनको बुरा लग रहा है. But they are also impressed, very, very impressed by the British. So their heart, this is their heart. Heart is culturally nationalistic. They are feeling bad when the Britishers are criticizing. But their mind, it says this. Mind, it says this. See, in their heart, they are nationalistic. Cultural nationalism is there. That is why UPSC asked the question, socio-religious reforms led to national awakening. Nationalism, national awakening. Socio-cultural reforms led to national shaping of national identity. Who we are is a product of our mind and heart. अगर दिल धड़कता ना इंडिया के लिए, उसे बोलते हैं patriotism. When India beats Pakistan in the match, or when India wins T20 World Cup, or when India wins boxing championship or your Thomas Cup, right? So therefore, that is your heart. And mind-wise, what do you want? मतलब एक वो emotion है, that is patriotism. But mind-wise, there can be other things. Mind-wise, there can be other things, right? So mind-wise, they want to follow the West because they feel that is good for India. Western sciences, Western culture. Western sciences, Western culture. So this is the future. This should be the future, right? But they want respect for their past also. So एक तो ये बात है nationalism वाली. और दूसरी बात है यूटिलिटी वाली. सो वाई दे आर फोकसिंग ऑन वेदास? बिकॉज यूटिलिटी है प्लस कल्चरली नेशनलिस्टिक है. हाउएवर, for them, what is supreme? Logic. And that's why for the future they say that India should develop like the West. India should have all of these technologies that these people are having. India should have capitalism. West-like economy should be there. They did not, that's why these people, they will not support 1857 revolt. They say कि क्या चाह रहे हो तुम? You are trying to bring Bahadur Shah Zafar. That is not West-like polity. Your goal is not democracy. So, nahi, they wanted the Britishers to be here, the Western educated intellectuals who were also social reformers. These are all Western educated, upper caste intellectuals. So, this element is there with respect to the socio-religious reform. एक इसकी last चीज़ है, focus is on women. मतलब most of the आपकी जो reforms हैं बस हो गया 2 मिनट. एक focus is women. बस ये चीज़ अगर हम नहीं भूले ना तो सब कुछ बहुत आसान हो जाएगा. This is the logic part of it. Rest is all nothing. Otherwise, socio-religious reform movements, whenever you read from Spectrum or anywhere, from Bipin Chandra, you know, है ना? This is there. Another aspect is there is what? Therefore, focus will be 2. First of all, focus will be on एक तो हो गया Western education, because they are fans of Western sciences, so they will support Western education. ठीक है, एक तो ये चीज होगी. इनके कुछ पर्सनल कारण भी थे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दीज पीपल दे वांटेड ब्रिटिश जॉब्स. सो एक पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट भी था दैट इफ वी स्टडी वेस्टर्न लॉ देन विल बी एबल टू बिकम लॉयर. इफ वी स्टडी वेस्टर्न एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन विल बी एबल टू बिकम IAS ऑफिसर. तो पर्सनल कारण भी था इन मिडिल क्लास वाले लोगों का. दैट्स वाई दे सपोर्टेड वेस्टर्न एजुकेशन. ब्रिटिशर्स दे वांटेड टू क्रिएट ब्राउन साहिब. ब्राउन साहिब, अ पर्सन हु इज ब्राउन फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड बट फ्रॉम द इनसाइड ही इज ब्रिटिश. मतलब बेसिकली you will become loyal to the British. You will become fans of the British if you study that how great is the British civilization. How great is the British civilization. You develop a colonial mentality. Imagine there is a friend of yours, right? Imagine there is a friend of yours who says, I've got green card. You'll feel jealous. Colonial mentality. NRIs. Colonial mentality. Right? Imagine Britishers becoming jealous. Imagine Britishers becoming jealous of any British person living in India. हंसी आ जाएगी आप लोगों से. But when any Indian says that I've got green card, I have a house in Britain, like अच्छा कैसे रहते, कैसा वहाँ हवा ऐसी होती है. अच्छा तो पानी मतलब प्यूरिफायर नहीं, डायरेक्ट वही उसी से नहाते हो, वही पी लेते हो. हाँ वाह, अच्छा कैसा है, कैसा मौसम वहाँ है, इस टाइप से हो जाता है. यहाँ होता क्या, IIT में एडमिशन मिलता नहीं, IIM में एडमिशन मिलता नहीं, एम्स में एडमिशन मिलता नहीं, यूक्रेन में जाकर पढ़ते हैं, बोलते हैं NRI. रियलिटी तो ये पैसा देके पेड सीट लेके कह रहे NRI. ठीक है ना. बट इमेजिन रिवर्स. दिस इज कोलोनियल मेंटेलिटी. रिवर्स इमेजिन करो ना, अ US सिटीजन फीलिंग प्राउड दैट ही इज एबल टू बाय लैंड इन इंडिया. इमेजिन अ US सिटीजन टेकिंग इंडियन सिटीजनशिप. ठीक है, तो एकदम से ऐसे अटपटा लगता है, ऐसा क्यों करेगा वो? दिस इज कोलोनियल मेंटेलिटी. दिस टेस्ट ऑफ कोलोनियल मेंटेलिटी. दैट इज अ सेंस ऑफ दिस बिलीव दैट वी आर इंफीरियर एंड यू विल सपोर्ट कि सर वहां की तो इकोनॉमी अच्छी है, वहां के तो अच्छा, वहां को तो अच्छा, वो सब करोगे आप. So anyways, so they wanted to create a brown sahib, and therefore a loyal class of educated Indians who will say, no, British rule is good for India. For example, Dada Bhai Nauroji. Nothing more bad can happen to India than Britishers leaving India. कैसे बुरा और ज्यादा इंडिया के साथ कुछ नहीं हो सकता. That the Britishers they leave India. ये इंडिया की बदकिस्मती होगी if the Indians they get independence. Dada Bhai Nauroji. Because he believes that the British rule will be a, so heart wise he was also a cultural nationalist. He was nationalist, but mind कहता है कि नहीं इंडिया खुद से ना कर पाएगा. The British are successful in creating a brown sahib. Second point, focus was on women. All these social reforms, sati, widow marriage, child marriage, right? Everything it is related to female infanticide to women. Why? focus was on women because criteria for British to judge civilization was status of women. तो ऐसा था. So Britishers, they are criticizing you're a weak civilization, inferior civilization. आप कौन हैं कौन ठीक है. They are saying कि भाई status of women in your society, status of women is down, it is weak, and therefore you are not a modern civilization, you are a patriarchal backward civilization. So they're like अच्छा. So therefore now ये भी एक colonial mentality है ना भाई. Feminists they will attack me, but this is also colonial mentality that हमें उनका test pass करना है. We want to pass their test. So therefore they will focus on the women's, and I agree with the social reforms. But the why focus on women reforms? Because we want to pass the test of the British. So therefore let us uplift the status of women and make the Britishers agree that no, our civilization is good. Why do I say so? Because there is no women social reformer. This is another feature. But no women social reformer. The patriarchal Indian man is saying that I will reform. मतलब women centric reforms हैं, but कोई women social reformer है ही नहीं. There is no women social reformer. Right? So focus on women was not coming from a value perspective. Leadership it is with men only. So, but still you are focusing on reforms of women. Why? Because you wanted to prove to the Britishers that our civilization is good. That is why जितने भी reforms हैं सारे women centric हैं. So this is the intellectual part of this thing. Last sentence, after 1857, they will say that this laptop is total kachra. This laptop is total kachra. And then the Indians will say, total kachra? Indians will say, our laptop is better than yours. तुम होते कौन हो हमारे लैपटॉप में वायरस बताने वाले? समझ रहे हो? So this is what, so spring देखा ना spring. So when you have a spring, उसको इतना प्रेस करो. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये आपकी क्लास में एग्जाम्पल दिया था, आज शुरुआत वाली क्लास में एग्जाम्पल दिया था. फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू कम टू मी सर, आई हैव रिटन दिस आंसर. सर प्लीज चेक. इफ आई टेल यू दैट सी योर आंसर हैज सर्टेन डिफेक्ट्स, योर आंसर इज थोड़ा बहुत डिग्रेडेड, यू नीड टू इम्प्रूव. यू लाइक सर प्लीज टेल मी अंडर योर गाइडेंस आई विल बी एबल टू क्लियर यूपीएससी, प्लीज टेल मी हाउ टू इम्प्रूव आंसर राइटिंग. This is the early social reformers. Raja Ram Mohan Roy accepting that yes, there is some degradation in the Indian society, but with the help of the British, we will be able to pass the exam. We will be able to improve. After 1857, what happens? You come to me and you say, sir, ये answer लिखा है, please check. I read the answer and I tear it apart. And then I do this also. And they're like, you write the exam. Have you seen your face in the mirror? Eh? You want to write the exam? Write the exam. You are not capable at all. समझे? What you will do? First of all, you will pick up the newspaper. Then you will hold my hair. Then you will make me open up my mouth. And then you will put that answer into my mouth, and then you will say, समझ रहे हो? Why? Spring अब बहुत ज़्यादा दबा दिया. So now when the Britishers will say after 1857 that dogs and Indians are not allowed, when they will become extra racist, then people like Swami Vivekananda and then Swami Dayanand Saraswati, they will say, ऐसा है, Hinduism is superior than Christianity. ठीक है, get lost. We don't have nothing to learn from you. In fact, if you want to learn something from us, तो आ जाना योगा वोगा सीखने. समझ रहे हो? So therefore this is what. So now response. Cultural nationalism जो कि moderate था, अब वो दिल ऐसे धड़कने लगेगा. After 1857, strong cultural nationalism. नाउ बाल गंगाधर तिलक विल से इन 1891, हु आर यू टू टेल अस कि हमें अपने बेटियों की एज बढ़ानी है शादी के लिए? हु आर यू टू टेल अस दैट वी शुड इंक्रीज द एज ऑफ आवर डॉटर्स फॉर मैरिज? हाँ, इंक्रीज करनी हो मैटर अलग है, बट व्हाट इज योर जुरिसडिक्शन? व्हाट इज योर जुरिसडिक्शन? हमें करनी, हम कर लेंगे, तुम कौन हो? So therefore see, even a person like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who married off his daughter as late as possible, but समाज में वो ऑर्थोडॉक्स सेक्शंस का साथ दे रहे हैं, because questioning that what is your jurisdiction? हमें करना, हम कर लेंगे, what is your jurisdiction? How can you bring a law to tell us that we should do this? So this response is coming. Swami Dayananda Saraswati is saying, if Islam is a religion of book, if Christianity is a religion of book, then Hinduism was also a religion of book, Vedas. He says Vedas are superior. He says real truth, real scientific truth is in the Vedas. तो response आ रहा है because of British racism. So ये कहानी है बस. इसमें मैंने एक भी फैक्ट नहीं बताया, सिर्फ एनालिसिस किया. अगर हमें ये एनालिसिस, बेसिक एनालिसिस समझ में आ जाए तो और कुछ नहीं है, फिर तो बस क्या है, नेम ऑफ द सोशल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, नेम ऑफ द रिफॉर्म है, थोड़े बहुत इवेंट्स हैं. ये जो सीपीयू है सोशल रिफॉर्म्स का, वो हमने आज डिस्कस कर लिया है. इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास विल डिस्कस द हार्डवेयर ऑल्सो, दैट इज द सोशल रिफॉर्म ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एंड द सोशल रिफॉर्म्स. राइट, सो थैंक यू फॉर योर टाइम, गॉड ब्लेस यू, टेक केयर, बाय बाय. Harmanjot is asking, but sir, why did they have such a benchmark, that is status of men? What is the reason behind it? So, I mean, क्या बताएं? I mean, इसको मैं देख के बताऊंगा थोड़ा सा कि why the Britishers, why the Europeans, they focused on status of women. Because they are the ones who are the mothers, they are the ones who are the originator of family, they are the ones who are the half of the gender. And तो वो देखते हैं, थोड़ा सा देखते हैं कि वो क्या रीजन है.